Hi friends, welcome to a new story on Odax. Today you will experience one day as a teenage Neanderthal. We will journey back 40,000 years. If this helps you rest, please subscribe and like. And tell me in the comments, what would you like to be for a day? What time is it where you are right now? Now, get comfortable. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Let go of your day. Close your eyes if you'd like. Let's begin. The first sound is always the breathing, not your own. Though you feel the steady rise and fall of your chest beneath the weight of winter hides, but the collective breath of your family. Your mother to your left, her presence solid and warm. Your younger brother curled against her other side, his small body tucked into the curve of her protection. Your father beyond him, his deeper respiration stirring the still air with quiet rhythm. And pressed close to your right side, your sister, barely 8 winters old, her hand resting on your arm even in sleep. You lie still, eyes closed, feeling the way your bodies create an island of warmth in the cave's eternal chill. The hides covering you, aurochs and reindeer carefully scraped and worked soft by your mother's strong hands, trap the heat between layers. Beneath you, dried grass and moss cushion the stone floor, and below that, carefully placed flat stones still hold the faintest memory of last night's heated rocks, their warmth radiating up through the bedding. The darkness behind your eyelids begins to shift. Not true light yet, but the promise of it. The quality of the blackness changes, becoming less absolute. Your people have always known this moment. The breath between night and day when the world remembers it will wake again. You open your eyes. The cave ceiling arches above you, barely visible in the pre-dawn dimness. But you know every curve and shadow of it, could trace its contours in absolute darkness. The smoke from 10,000 fires has darkened the limestone to a deep charcoal, except where the pale stone shows through in patches. There, in those lighter spaces, the marks live. Handprints in ochre, red as blood, red as the earth, red as the sun rising through winter mist. Your hand, your mark, your clan. Some of the prints are ancient, made by ancestors whose stories have faded into the mystery of time beyond memory. Others are recent. There, your grandmother's hand, added just before the last winter took her. And there, higher up where your father lifted you when you had seen only 7 winters, your own small palm preserved in pigment and meaning. You remember the feel of the wet ochre paste, how your father held your wrist steady while the eldest pressed your hand to the stone. Now you are marked, the elder had said. Now the cave knows you belong here. Tonight, if all goes well, you will add another mark. A different kind. The mark of a hunter who has proven themselves worthy. The thought sends a thrill through your body, part anticipation, part fear. Today is the day. Today you join the hunt, not as a child learning, but as a participant whose actions will matter, whose spear might mean the difference between your clan eating well or going hungry. You draw a slow breath, tasting the cave air. It carries layers of meaning if you know how to read it. Smoke, yes. The fire pit in the central chamber has burned low through the night, but not out. Someone, probably your uncle who always takes the last watch, has fed it carefully to keep the embers alive. Smoke means warmth, means safety, means home. Beneath the smoke, rendered fat, the rich smell of it still clinging to the stone walls where mammoth grease was melted down 2 days ago. Your stomach tightens with memory of that feast, and with the knowledge that such abundance cannot last. The meat is nearly gone already, shared among 27 mouths, and what remains must be preserved for the lean times that always come. Deeper still, the mineral scent of the cave itself, limestone and water, the particular smell of this home that you would recognize anywhere, even if carried here blindfolded from a great distance. and underneath everything, so familiar you barely notice it anymore, the scent of your people. Bodies pressed close for warmth through countless nights, the particular smell of human life lived in intimate proximity. Your family smells like safety. You turn your head slightly. The cave mouth is visible from here, a lighter grey against the surrounding darkness. No direct sunlight reaches this sleeping chamber. That would be foolish, exposing your most vulnerable moments to whatever might approach from outside. But the main chamber opens to the east, and the growing light creeps inward like careful fingers. A sound reaches you from that direction, not threatening. You would know threat instantly, would be on your feet with weapon in hand before conscious thought formed. This is the sound of your uncle moving near the fire, the soft scrape of wood on stone as he adds fuel, the faint crackle as dry branches catch. Soon the others will wake. Soon the morning routine will begin, the careful dance of family life that has sustained your people since the first Neanderthal opened their eyes in a cave like this one, generations beyond counting ago. But for this moment, this precious span of heartbeats, you lie still and feel the weight of what today means. Your body has been preparing for this. Over the past 2 winters, you've grown almost as tall as your father. Not quite, but close enough that you can look him nearly level in the eyes. Your shoulders have broadened, your chest deepened. The muscles in your arms and legs, built through endless practice throws and long treks across the valley, have taken on the hardness of an adult hunter's. Your hands, when you flex them beneath the hides, are strong enough to thrust a spear through tough hide, to hang from a cliff edge by your fingers alone, to snap a rabbit's neck with a quick twist. You are ready. Your father has said so. The clan's elder tracker, a man who has survived more winters than anyone can count, has nodded approval at your skills. Even your mother, who still sees you as the child you were, has stopped objecting to this day's coming. But ready in body and ready in spirit are different things. Your sister stirs beside you, her hand tightening briefly on your arm before relaxing again into sleep. She knows what today means. Last night, before sleep took you all, she whispered in the darkness, "Will you be careful? Will you come back?" And you had answered with more confidence than you felt, "Of course. Don't I always?" She had been quiet then, and you knew she was thinking of Red Hawk, a young hunter from 2 winters past who had not come back, who now lived only in memory and in the ochre outline of his hand on the cave wall, a palm print with no heartbeat behind it. The valley takes hunters sometimes. That is the way of things. The animals you hunt are not willing victims. They are powerful, desperate, dangerous when cornered. A mammoth can crush a man with one step. An aurochs can gore you with its massive horns before you can leap clear. Even a deer, seemingly harmless, can kill with its sharp hooves if you approach carelessly. You have been taught all of this. You have practiced until your arms ached, until your feet bled, until you could track a hare through forest and stone by the faintest signs. You have learned to read weather in the morning sky, to know when the herds will move, to understand the language of wolves and bears and the great cats that sometimes compete with your people for the same prey. The movement begins as it always does, your father first. You sense, rather than see him rise, the shift in weight on the sleeping platform, the brief intrusion of cold air as he lifts the edge of the hide coverings. Your mother stirs next, her body's rhythm synchronized to his after so many winters together. She makes no sound, but you feel her awareness spread through the dimness like ripples in still water. Your sister's hand slips from your arm as you sit up, careful not to disturb your brother, who will sleep longer. He has seen only 5 winters and is still permitted the luxury of rest while the adults begin their day. You remember that privilege from your own childhood, The warm cocoon of hides, the distant sounds of morning preparation like a lullaby promising you were safe, that others were keeping watch. Those days are behind you now. The cold strikes your face first as you emerge from the sleeping firs. The air in the cave hovers just above freezing, cold enough to see your breath, cold enough to make your skin prickle and tighten. But your people are built for this. Your body compact, muscular, barrel-chested, holds heat efficiently. Your broad nose warms the frigid air before it reaches your lungs. Every aspect of your form has been shaped by countless generations surviving ice and cold, learning to thrive where others might perish. Still, you reach immediately for your clothing. The inner layer first, a tunic of soft reindeer hide, worked until it's supple as a second skin, the hair side turned inward against your body. Your mother made this for you, and it bears the marks of her skill. Every seam tight and even, reinforced at the shoulders where strain is greatest. You pull it over your head, feeling the familiar comfort of it settling around your torso. Over this, a heavier layer, aurochs hide, the fur thick and dark, still carrying the wild smell of the massive beast it came from. This outer garment reaches to your knees, split up the sides for movement, tied at the waist with a braided leather cord. The weight of it on your shoulders feels like armor, like strength borrowed from the animal that wore it first. Your hands work automatically through the wrapping of your leg coverings. Long strips of hide that wind from ankle to mid-thigh, tied and tucked to stay secure through hours of movement. Then your feet, carefully sewn boots lined with dried grass for insulation. The sole's thick bark fastened with sinew, worn smooth by your own footsteps across stone and earth. Finally, your outer wrap, a cape of wolf fur that your father gave you last winter, taken from a massive grey male that had threatened the clan's hunting grounds. He was brave, your father had said when he presented it. Foolish, but brave. Like you will need to be. You fasten it around your shoulders with a carved bone pin, feeling the transformation that clothing brings. Beneath the furs, you were cold, exposed, vulnerable. Now you are armored against the world, ready to move through it with purpose. The sleeping chamber is stirring fully now. Your aunt and her 2 children are rising in the adjacent space, separated from your family only by a low wall of stacked stones and a hanging hide. Beyond them, your uncle's family, his mate, and 3 sons, the oldest nearly grown like you, the youngest still nursing. 27 people share this cave system, spread through connecting chambers that tunnel back into the limestone hill like the chambers of a great stone heart. You make your way toward the central chamber, your feet finding the path by memory rather than sight. The passage is narrow here, forcing you to turn sideways briefly, the stone cold and slightly damp under your palm as you steady yourself. Then the space opens up, and you step into the heart of your home. The fire pit dominates the central chamber, a carefully constructed circle of stones that has held flames for longer than anyone can remember. Your uncle sits beside it now, feeding the revived blaze with precise movements. He glances up as you approach, his heavy brow ridge casting deep shadows over his eyes in the firelight, and nods once. Approval. Acknowledgement. Today is the day. Your throat tightens, but you nod back, moving to take your place beside the fire. Heat radiates from the flames, and you extend your hands toward it gratefully. Around the fire pit, the evidence of your people's life spreads in organized chaos. Stone tools, scrapers, blades, points, arranged carefully on flat rocks. Antler and bone waiting to be worked into needles, awls, handles. A partially carved spear shaft leaning against the wall, the wood already shaped but not yet finished. Baskets woven from river grass holding dried berries, nuts, roots, the gathered foods that supplement the meat and keep your people alive when hunting fails. The walls here are different from the sleeping chamber, where your family's space is marked with handprints and simple symbols. This communal area tells stories. Ochre and manganese drawings cover the limestone, aurochs with their massive curved horns, mammoths in profile showing their distinctive humped backs, reindeer with antlers like tree branches, horses running in a herd. These are not mere decoration. They are memory, instruction, prayer. They are your people saying to the animals, "We see you. We honor you. We need you." Your father appears from the passage that leads to the cave mouth, his breath visible in the cold air streaming in from outside. His face is serious. It's always serious these days, but there's something else there this morning. Pride, perhaps, or fear. Maybe both. "The sky is clear," he announces to the gathering clan members. "The wind comes from the north. Cold, but steady. Good hunting weather." Your mother emerges from the sleeping chamber carrying your brother, who is awake now and clinging to her like a bear cub. She sets him down near the fire and immediately begins the morning work, taking the leather pouches that hung overnight from the ceiling beams, still containing water carried from the river yesterday. Water freezes overnight, even inside the cave during deep winter, but now, in the season of melting, it stays liquid. She pours some into a carved wooden bowl and adds hot stones from the fire's edge with wooden tongs, heating it for drinking. Your grandmother's sister, the eldest of the clan now, her face deeply lined, her hair more grey than black, begins distributing the morning food. Dried meat, hard and chewy, from the last successful hunt. A paste made from pounded nuts and berries, stored in sealed birch bark containers. It's not much. It's never much in the morning. The real eating happens after the hunt, if the hunt succeeds. You accept your portion with both hands, pressing your fists to your chest in thanks as you've been taught since childhood. The old woman's eyes find yours, and she holds your gaze for a long moment. Her fingers, gnarled with age but still strong, reach up and touch your forehead briefly. A blessing. A prayer to the spirits of the hunt, a wordless plea for your safe return. Your sister appears at your elbow, her own morning food clutched in small hands. She's wrapped in furs too big for her, the sleeves hanging past her fingertips. "You should eat more," she says quietly, trying to push some of her dried meat toward you. "You need strength for today." The gesture makes your chest ache. "Keep it," you tell her, pushing it back gently. "I've had enough." It's not true. A hunter is always hungry, especially a growing one. But she needs it too. Everyone does. That's why today matters. That's why you must succeed. Around the fire, the morning routine continues. Your cousin, a girl of 12 winters, helps her mother prepare fat for working into the leather pieces that will become new clothing. Your uncle's oldest son sharpens a blade with a piece of sandstone, the rhythmic scraping sound mixing with the crackle of flames. Two of the younger children play a quiet game with pebbles, their voices kept low out of respect for the serious work happening around them. Your father crouches beside the fire and begins checking his weapons. His primary spear, a shaft of ash wood as tall as a man, tipped with a carefully napped flint point lashed on with sinew and sealed with pine resin, leans against his shoulder. He runs his thumb along the point's edge, testing for chips or dullness. Finding none, he sets it aside and picks up his hand axe, a beautifully worked piece of flint that fits his palm perfectly, one edge razor sharp for cutting, the other blunted for hammering. You watch these preparations with absolute attention. You have your own weapons. A spear you made yourself under your father's guidance, carrying it everywhere for the past moon, until it became an extension of your arm. A knife at your belt, the handle worn smooth by your grip. A smaller axe, not as fine as your father's, but serviceable. These tools represent countless hours of work, finding the right stones, learning to see the shape hidden inside them, striking with precise force to fracture the flint along the lines you need. Your first attempts were clumsy, producing only broken chunks and bloodied fingers. But your father never showed impatience, only guided your hands, showed you again, waited while you learned. "The tools teach you," he had said. "If you force them, they break. If you listen to them, they become what they're meant to be." You're still learning that listening. Your mother approaches your father, carrying something wrapped in leather. She unfolds it carefully, revealing a strip of dried mammoth hide, worked soft and painted with ochre symbols. Protection marks, hunting luck, safe return. She winds it around your father's left forearm, tying it securely, her fingers lingering on his wrist just a moment longer than necessary. Then she turns to you. Your heart hammers as she approaches. In her hands, another strip of hide, marked with similar symbols but different specific to you, prepared for this day. She has never done this for you before. This is not the blessing given to a child watching adults leave. This is the binding given to a hunter. "Hold out your arm," she says, and her voice is steady, but you know her too well. You hear the tremor underneath, the mother's fear warring with the mother's pride. You extend your left arm, and she begins to wrap the leather around it, pulling it snug but not tight, tying it with practiced knots. Her fingers are warm against your skin. "Listen to your father," she says quietly, meant only for your ears. "Stay with the group. Don't try to prove anything. Just come home." "I will," you promise, and you mean it with every fiber of your being. She finishes the binding and steps back, her hand dropping to her side. In her eyes, you see yourself as a child, the infant she nursed, the toddler who clung to her legs, the young one who brought her flowers from the meadow, and interesting stones from the river. You see her struggling to reconcile those memories with the young hunter standing before her now, almost as tall as she is, wearing weapons, preparing to face danger. "I'm ready," you tell her, trying to make her believe it, trying to believe it yourself. She nods once, then turns away quickly, busying herself with the younger children. Your father rises, his spear in hand. "Gather your weapons," he says to you. "We leave when the sun clears the eastern ridge." The words make it real in a way it hasn't been until this moment. This is happening. Today. Now. You retrieve your spear from where it leans against the wall, feel its familiar weight in your grip. Check your knife secure in its sheath, your axe hanging from your belt. You have water in a skin bag, dried meat wrapped in bark tucked inside your tunic. Everything a hunter needs. Around you, the other hunters are making similar preparations. Your uncle, your father's younger brother, checking the tension of his throwing cord. Bent Nose, the elder tracker whose wisdom has guided the clan through lean times, wrapping extra leather strips around his boots for the long walk ahead. Grey Bear, the strongest hunter, testing the heft of a club made from mammoth bone. Long Walker and Swift Hand, both experienced, both scarred from previous hunts. And Stone Thrower, your uncle's oldest son, barely 2 winters older than you, who was allowed to join the hunting party for the first time last season. 7 hunters, counting you. A good number. Enough to take down large prey if you work together. Not so many that you'll make too much noise or confusion. Your father moves to the cave entrance, and the hunters follow. You take your place in the line, feeling the weight of every eye in the clan upon you. Your sister stands near the fire, her small face serious and frightened. Your mother holds your brother, her expression carefully neutral. The elder woman raises one hand, fingers spread, the blessing gesture. The morning light spills through the cave mouth, bright and cold and full of promise or threat, you cannot yet tell which. Your father looks back once, his eyes finding yours. In that glance, You see every lesson he's ever taught you, every patient correction, every word of praise hard-earned. You see the trust he's placing in you, and the fear he carries for you, and the knowledge that he cannot protect you from everything, that someday, perhaps someday soon, you will have to protect yourself. Stay close, he says simply. Watch everything. Learn. Then he turns and walks into the light, and you follow, your spear held firm, your heart beating like a drum, every sense suddenly sharp and alive. The cave falls behind you. The hunt lies ahead. And between them you walk forward, neither child nor fully grown, caught in the dangerous, beautiful moment of becoming. The world outside the cave strikes you like a physical force. Light pale and crystalline, the sun just cresting the eastern ridge, turning the frost-covered valley into a landscape of silver and gold. Cold deeper than cave cold, the kind that finds every gap in your clothing and reminds you that winter has not fully released its grip despite the seasons turning. Sound wind through the valley grass, the distant rush of the river swollen with snowmelt, the sharp cry of a hawk circling above the limestone cliffs. You pause on the wide stone ledge that fronts your cave, letting your eyes adjust, letting your body remember what it means to stand under the sky. The valley spreads before you like an offering, a ribbon of river cutting through the center, forests of pine and birch climbing the lower slopes, open grassland beyond where the great herds move with the seasons. Snow still caps the highest peaks, brilliant white against the hard blue sky. And you know those mountains continue far beyond what you can see, stretching to the edge of the world. Your father doesn't pause. He moves with the purposeful stride of a man who has walked this land for 40 winters, who knows every stone and stream, every game trail and danger. The other hunters fall naturally into a loose formation behind him, not a line, but a flowing group that maintains awareness of each other while reading the landscape constantly. You take your place near the rear with Stone Thrower, who catches your eye and grins. A quick flash of teeth and understanding. He remembers his first real hunt, the mixture of excitement and terror. You see it in his face. You'll be fine. I survived. You will too. The path down from the cave is steep, worn smooth by generations of feet. Your ancestors descending to hunt, returning with meat, children playing on the upper sections where it's safest, women gathering the particular moss that grows in the limestone seeps. Your feet know this path in their bones. You could run it in darkness if needed, but your father is not taking the direct route to the valley floor. Instead, he turns north along a narrower trail that follows the cliff line, threading between boulders and scrub pine. This is the long way, the teaching way. You realize with a start that this morning walk is not merely travel. It's your final examination, and the entire hunting party knows it. The trail narrows where it crosses a scree slope, loose rock that shifts under your weight. You plant each foot carefully, testing before committing, using your spear as a balance point. Below, a drop of perhaps 20 body lengths falls to broken rocks and thorny brush. Not immediately fatal, but crippling. And a crippled hunter cannot hunt, cannot provide, becomes a burden. The clan cannot always afford to carry. You make the crossing without incident, and Bent knows. The elder tracker who has been watching with keen attention grunts approval. The trail widens again, entering a stand of pine where the morning shadows still pool thick and blue. The scent of resin fills your nose, sharp and clean. Your father raises one hand, and the group stops instantly. No questions, no sound. This is not danger. If it were, his hand would be clenched in the warning sign. This is teaching. He gestures you forward. Your heart accelerates as you move to stand beside him. He points down at the soft earth between the tree roots, and you drop to a crouch, reading what the ground offers. Tracks. 4 distinct prints, each as wide as your palm spread flat. The pads are clear, the claw marks deep. Wolf. A large one, perhaps the alpha of a pack. The tracks are fresh, the edges still sharp, despite the morning frost that's beginning to melt. Which way? Your father asks quietly. You study the tracks, noting the direction the claws point, the way dirt is pushed backward from the stride. Heading north, you answer. Following the cliff line, moving at a walk, not running. Time? You lean closer, smelling the earth, noting how much frost has formed in the deepest part of the prints. After midnight, before dawn. Perhaps, you consider, 4 hands of time ago? Your father glances at Bent Nose, who has moved to stand nearby. The old tracker nods slowly. Good eyes, he says, his voice rough as gravel. Now tell me why the wolf was here. You scan the surrounding area, looking for context. There, a scraping on a pine trunk at about the height of your shoulder, where bark has been torn away by something. You move to it, examining the damage. Old blood darkened in the crevices and caught in the rough wood, several tufts of hair. Not wolf hair, coarser, darker. Boar, you say, touching the hair carefully. A large one, judging by the height of the rubbing. It marked this tree, probably last evening. The wolf scented it and came to investigate. And then, your uncle prompts, you cast wider, moving in a slow circle around the marking tree. There more wolf tracks, and something else. The unmistakable twin-toed prints of wild boar, deep and widely spaced. Running. And the wolf prints change too, from a walk to a lope, pursuing. The boar was here when the wolf arrived. You reconstruct the story. The wolf gave chase. North, toward, you pause, thinking about the terrain, toward the rocky outcrop where the river bends, where the cliffs trap the game trail. Your father's hand falls on your shoulder, heavy and warm. You see well, he says, and the pride in his voice makes your chest swell. But tell me, should we be concerned about this wolf? The question is a test within a test. You think carefully. No, you decide. The wolf is hunting alone, not with a pack. It's after boar, not following the herds we seek. Our paths will not cross today. Unless, prompts Grey Bear, the powerful hunter who has killed more dangerous animals than anyone in the clan. You consider. Unless we wound something and cannot bring it down quickly, then the scent of blood might draw predators. We must be efficient. Good, Grey Bear says simply, and coming from him that single word feels like a feast of praise. The group moves on, and you return to your place in the formation, but something has shifted. They tested you, and you passed. The knowledge sits warm in your belly despite the morning cold. The trail descends through a series of rocky shelves, each like a giant step down the mountainside. Here the teaching continues, but subtly. Your father and the other hunters reading signs and occasionally pointing them out, not with words, but with gestures and glances that ensure you see what they see. A patch of disturbed earth where a badger has been digging. The scattered feathers of a ptarmigan taken by a hawk. The distinctive bark stripping of deer who survived the winter by eating the inner cambium of young trees. A bent sapling marking where a bear emerged from hibernation, scratching its winter-stiff muscles against the flexible trunk. Each sign is a word in the language of the land, and you are learning to read sentences, paragraphs, entire stories written in track and scat, broken branches and scattered fur. The sun climbs higher as you walk, burning off the frost, warming the air just enough to make movement comfortable. You've been walking for perhaps 2 hands of time when your father leads the group to a small clearing where a spring bubbles up from between rocks, forming a clear pool before trickling away to join the river below. Here, the group pauses to drink and to check weapons. You kneel beside the pool, the water so cold it makes your teeth ache, but clean and sweet with the taste of stone and snow. You drink deeply, knowing the morning's easy walking is about to end. Ahead lies the real test. Your uncle moves to sit beside you on a flat rock, his weathered face thoughtful. Your father tells me you've been practicing the throw, he says. Every day, you confirm. Against the practice posts, and at moving targets when possible. Show me your grip. You take your spear and demonstrate hands positioned correctly, weight balanced, the motion you've repeated until your shoulders burned and your arms shook. Your uncle adjusts your rear hand slightly, rotating it just a finger's width. There, he says. Feel that? More control on the release. When you throw at the mammoth, if you get the chance, you're not trying to kill it with one spear. You're trying to place your point exactly where it will do the most damage and make the beast react the way we need. It's not about strength. It's about precision, even with something so large. Especially with something so large, he says seriously. A mammoth can carry a dozen spears and still fight. But one spear in the right place behind the shoulder, into the lung, angling toward the heart, that spear might be the one that matters. You nod, adjusting your grip to match what he's shown you, feeling how the small change affects the balance. Bent Nose approaches, his movements careful. He's old enough that cold mornings stiffen his joints, though once he's warmed up, he can still outpace hunters half his age. He settles onto a rock with a slight grunt and fixes you with his deep-set eyes. You know why we hunt mammoth? He asks. It seems obvious. Meat, fat, hide, bone, enough resources to feed the clan for many days. But his tone suggests he wants a deeper answer. You think carefully. Because we need to, you say finally. Because the season turns and the reindeer herds have moved on. Because the stored food is running low. Because a successful mammoth hunt means the clan survives until the salmon run. True, Bent Nose acknowledges, but also because we can. Because we are Neanderthal. Because our people have hunted mammoth since the first grandfathers walked these valleys. The wolf hunts what it can catch. The bear takes what it can overpower. But we are different. We plan. We work together. We use our minds as much as our strength. He leans forward, his voice dropping lower, more intense. Today you will see a mammoth die if the spirits allow it. It will be terrible and beautiful. That animal has lived perhaps 60 winters, longer than any of us will see. It has survived droughts and blizzards, predators and starvation. It is worthy of respect. We kill it not from cruelty, but from necessity. Do you understand the difference? I think so, you say, though you're not entirely certain. You will, Bent Nose says when you stand before it. When you look into its eye and see the same spark that lives in you. The desire to survive, to continue, to see another sunrise. In that moment, you will understand what it means to be a hunter. We take life to preserve life. We honor what we kill by wasting nothing, by thanking the spirits, by remembering that someday the valley will take us too, and our bodies will feed the grass that feeds the animals that feed our children. The weight of his words settles on you like a physical thing. This is not the simple excitement of boys pretending to hunt with sticks. This is something profound, something sacred and terrible in equal measure. Your father stands, signaling it's time to move. The teaching walk is ending. The actual hunt is about to begin. But before the group sets off, Long Walker, a quiet hunter who rarely speaks but sees everything, approaches you. From inside his tunic, he pulls out a small object and presses it into your palm. It's carved from mammoth ivory, no larger than your thumb. The figure of a hunter, stylized but recognizable, holding a spear in the throwing position. My father gave me this before my first hunt, Longwalker says. His father gave it to him. I have no sons, only daughters, and they are already provided for. I think it should go to you. You stare at the small carving, feeling the weight of generations in your hand. The ivory is smooth, yellowed with age, warm from Longwalker's body heat. This is not a casual gift. This is lineage, tradition, trust. I can't. You begin, but he closes your fingers around it. You can, he says simply. And you will. Keep it close. Let the old hunters who carried it guide your hand. Your throat is too tight for words, so you simply nod and tuck the carving safely inside your tunic, feeling it settle against your chest like a second heartbeat. The hunting party moves out, descending the final stretch of trail that will bring you to the valley floor. The playful morning light has given way to serious day. The shadows are shorter now, the sun bright enough to make you squint. The wind has picked up slightly, coming from the north, good for approaching prey from downwind. As you walk, you notice how the hunters have changed. The easy conversation of the early morning is gone. Each man moves with heightened awareness, reading the land constantly, no longer teaching but hunting. Their faces have taken on the focused intensity you've seen before when they return from successful hunts. The look of predators who have temporarily set aside everything soft and human, becoming instead creatures of purpose and necessity. You feel yourself trying to mirror that transformation, trying to quiet the nervous excitement, the fear, the persistent voice of your mother's warning. Just come home. You breathe slowly, deeply, feeling your heart rate slow, feeling your senses sharpen. The valley floor opens before you, vast grass plains dotted with stands of trees, the river a silver thread in the distance, and somewhere beyond the visible horizon, a wounded mammoth that doesn't yet know it's being hunted. Your father pauses at the forest's edge, and the hunting party gathers close. The scouts spotted it yesterday, he says, his voice low. A bull, perhaps 50 winters old, separated from his group. There was a fight. Another bull challenged him and damaged his rear leg. He's been moving slowly, favoring it. He went north along the river bend, toward the marshy ground where the willows grow thick. Bent nose spits thoughtfully. Dangerous terrain, soft ground, poor visibility, many places for things to go wrong. Yes, your father agrees. But also, he's chosen it because he feels vulnerable. He wants thick cover, water nearby, soft ground that will ease his injured leg. His injury makes him more dangerous, but also more predictable. The hunters nod, understanding the calculations. Your father's eyes find yours. You will be with me and your uncle. Grey Bear, Longwalker, and Swift Hand will position at the river ford in case he runs that direction. Bent Nose and Stone Thrower will drive from the north, pushing him toward us. When he comes, we need him to commit to charging. Once he charges, he cannot easily stop or turn. That's when we strike. And me, you ask, your voice steadier than you feel. You stay behind me, your father says. If I fall, you run. If I call for your spear, you throw where I point. If something goes wrong, he pauses, his eyes boring into yours. You use everything I've taught you, and you survive. Understood? Understood, you say. But you don't understand, not really. You understand the words, but not what they'll mean when the mammoth is real, when the danger is immediate, when everything depends on split-second choices and courage you're not certain you possess. The hunting party begins to split, each group moving to their assigned positions. You stay close to your father and uncle, moving with them through the tall grass that whispers against your legs, toward the willow thickets and the injured mammoth that waits there, unaware that its story is about to intersect with yours in blood and violence and the ancient dance of predator and prey. The teaching walk is over. The hunt begins. The grass is taller here, reaching past your waist in places, last season's growth bent and matted beneath this year's new shoots. It whispers secrets as you move through it, the soft shush shush of stems parting, closing, parting again. Every sound feels amplified, dangerous. Surely the mammoth can hear you coming. Surely every creature in the valley knows hunters are moving through the grassland. But your father moves like smoke, like shadow, and you try to copy his movements. Weights on the balls of your feet, each step tested before committed, spear held low to avoid catching on the grass heads. Your uncle moves to your right, equally silent, and you realize this quietness is not magic but practice, years of moving through terrain like this, until silence becomes instinct. The willow thickets grow denser ahead, marking where the river has overflowed its banks in past floods, creating a marshy borderland between grassland and water. The trees here are twisted and multiple-trunked, their roots spreading wide across the soft ground, their branches creating a canopy that filters the sunlight into a green-gold dimness. Your father pauses at the thicket's edge, dropping into a crouch. You and your uncle immediately do the same. The tall grass hides you completely from anything more than a few body lengths away. This is both protection and danger. You cannot see clearly either. Your father gestures, wait, watch, listen. So you wait, and the waiting is harder than the walking. Your muscles want to move, to act, to release the tension that's building in your chest like a drawn bowstring. But you force yourself still, breathing slowly through your nose, trying to quiet even the sound of your own breath. A bird calls from within the willows, the sharp double note of a thrush. Then another answers, and another. Normal sounds. The birds would not be calling if danger were immediate. But then, silence. The birds stop mid-song. Your father's hand closes into a fist. Danger close. Your heart hammers so hard you're certain it must be visible, your chest pounding like a drum that will give away your position. You grip your spear tighter, feeling sweat slick your palms despite the cool air. The willows to your left shake. Not wind would move all the branches. This is something pushing through them. Something large. And then you smell it. Mammoth scent is unmistakable once you've encountered it. A wild musk, thick and earthy, mixed with the smell of digested grass and the particular scent of an animal in pain. This one smells of infection too, that sickly sweet rot of a wound that's festering. The injured leg your father mentioned. The weakness that makes this hunt possible. The shaking in the willows intensifies. A branch cracks, loud as a thunderclap in the tense silence. More cracking, and then the willows part and the mammoth emerges into a small clearing not 30 paces from where you crouch. Your breath stops. You have seen mammoths before. They pass through the valley seasonally, and you've watched them from safe distances, studied their movements, learned their behaviors. But seeing and truly seeing are different things. You have never been this close. You have never been hiding in the grass with a spear in your hand, while a creature of this size stands vulnerable before you. He is massive. His shoulder stands twice as tall as your father. His tusks, yellowed ivory longer than you are tall, curve outward and slightly inward, their points worn from years of use. His body is covered in reddish-brown fur, thick and shaggy, hanging in matted clumps where he hasn't been able to properly groom himself. His trunk, that remarkable limb that serves as nose and hand and weapon, hangs low, swaying slightly as he tests the air. And his leg. his right rear leg. You can see the injury even from here. A massive wound high on the haunch, torn flesh visible through the matted fur, flies already buzzing around it despite the cool weather. The leg bears weight, but barely. When he shifts, he does so carefully, favoring it. This is what the scouts saw. This is what makes him vulnerable. This is why he will die today. The mammoth moves slowly into the clearing, heading toward a muddy wallow where water has collected. He needs to drink to cool the fever that must be burning in his infected wound. He's focused on that need, driven by pain and thirst, and that focus is his final mistake. Your father's hand signals, hold position. The plan is clear in your mind. The mammoth must move farther into the clearing, away from the thick willows where he might escape if wounded. Grey Bear and the others will be in position at the far side, blocking the route to the river ford. Bent Nose and Stone Thrower are somewhere north, ready to drive him if he turns the wrong way. But first, he must commit. He must move to the center of the killing ground. The mammoth lowers his head to drink, his trunk drawing water and curling it up to his mouth. You watch the muscles work beneath his fur, the sheer power contained in every movement. Even injured, even weakened, he is magnificent. Dangerous. Worthy of the respect Bent Nose spoke of. You understand now what the old tracker meant. Looking at this creature, seeing the intelligence in his small eyes, the care with which he favors his injury, the simple desire to drink and rest and survive another day, you feel the weight of what's about to happen. Not guilt, exactly. Your people need to eat. The clan's survival depends on taking this life. But awareness, recognition that this is not sport or cruelty. This is necessity. And necessity has its own terrible gravity. The mammoth finishes drinking and raises his head, water dripping from his trunk. He turns slightly, and for a moment his profile is to you, the long curve of his back, the slope of his skull, the great weight of his tusks. He looks ancient and tired and hurt. Your father rises slowly from the grass, and you realize with a jolt that the moment is now. The waiting is over. The mammoth sees the movement immediately. His head swings toward your father, trunk lifting, ears spreading wide. Those huge ears that make him look even larger, that can hear sounds you'll never perceive. His eyes fix on your father, and you see the calculation happening behind them. Threat. Predator. Danger. Your father stands fully upright, spear in hand, making himself visible, deliberately drawing the mammoth's attention. "Come on, grandfather," your father says, his voice carrying clearly across the clearing, not shouting, speaking, almost gentle. "Come on. It's time." The mammoth trumpets, a sound that goes through you like lightning, so loud it seems to come from inside your chest rather than outside. It's rage and fear and pain, all mixed together. A sound that speaks to something primal in your hindbrain, the part that remembers when your ancestors were prey, not predators. Your uncle rises to your father's right. 2 threats now. 2 targets. And you, following their lead, rise on your father's left. 3 hunters standing in the open, spears ready, facing down a creature that outweighs all of you combined 20 times over. The mammoth's eyes track between you, trunk waving as he tests your scent. He can smell your fear, you're certain of it. Can probably hear your heart hammering, see your hands gripping your spear too tightly. He's trying to decide, fight or flee. Your father takes a step forward, then another. "Come on," he says again, his voice steady. "We're here. We're not leaving." You know what happens now. The mammoth backs up a step, testing his injured leg, and the pain must be incredible because he trumpets again, the sound shrill with suffering. He can't run properly. He can't escape. And somewhere in his ancient brain, he knows this. So he charges. The moment transforms from stillness to violence so fast you almost can't process it. One heartbeat, the mammoth is standing uncertain. The next, he's moving toward you, trunk up, tusks lowered, making a sound like rolling thunder mixed with rage. Everything your father taught you crystallizes in this instant. "Spread," your father shouts, and the three of you split apart. Your father moving left, your uncle right, you following your father because that's the plan. Stay with him, don't get separated. The mammoth commits to your uncle, the nearest target, the one that moved right. The beast swings toward him with surprising speed, despite the injured leg. Your uncle is already moving, not running away but angling, leading the mammoth in a curve, drawing him away from the willow thickets and into the open. Your father is running now, not away but parallel to the mammoth's charge, and you're running too, your legs pumping, grass whipping against your shins. You're trying to flank the beast, to come at him from the side where his attention isn't focused. The mammoth is gaining on your uncle, close enough that you can see the saliva flying from his mouth, the wild roll of his eyes. Your uncle throws his spear, a perfect cast that catches the mammoth in the shoulder, sinking deep into the muscle behind the front leg. The beast screams but doesn't stop, doesn't even slow. Your uncle dodges left, nimble despite his age, and the mammoth's tusk sweeps through the space where he was standing a heartbeat before. The momentum of the swing throws the mammoth slightly off balance, and he has to catch himself, his injured leg buckling. That's when Grey Bear appears from the far side of the clearing. He must have circled when he heard the trumpet, abandoning his position to join the attack. Now he comes from the mammoth's blind side, his own spear raised high, and drives it with all his considerable strength into the mammoth's hindquarters. Not the injured leg, but the good one, targeting the massive muscles that drive movement. The mammoth wheels, faster than something his size should be able to turn, and Grey Bear barely gets clear, rolling under a tusk swipe that would have disemboweled him. "Now," your father shouts, and you realize he's shouting at you. You're in position, 20 paces from the mammoth's left side, a clean throwing lane. The beast's attention divided between your uncle and Grey Bear. This is the moment. This is your purpose. This is why you're here. Your body moves on instinct, guided by 10,000 practice throws. Weight back, spear up, sight down the shaft to the target, the spot your uncle described, behind the shoulder, angling toward the vitals. The mammoth is moving but not quickly, favoring both rear legs now, Grey Bear's spear lodged deep in the good leg's muscle. You throw. The spear leaves your hand with a feeling of rightness, of completion, as perfect a throw as you've ever made. Time seems to slow as you watch it arc through the air, the flint point catching sunlight, rotating exactly as it should. It strikes the mammoth behind his left shoulder, and you see the impact. The way the fur dimples inward, the way the shaft shudders as the point drives deep. The mammoth trumpets again, this time a note of pure agony, and staggers. But he doesn't fall. 3 spears in him now, your uncle's in the shoulder, Grey Bear's in the haunch, yours behind the shoulder. And he's still standing, still dangerous, still fighting. Long Walker and Swift Hand emerge from the south, having heard the commotion and abandoned their own positions. They circle wide, looking for openings. Your father has retrieved another spear from where he'd cached them before the hunt began, and he's moving in close, dangerously close. The mammoth is tiring. You can see it in the way he moves, the way his head droops slightly between the attempts to track his attackers. Blood flows from his wounds, dark and steady. The infection in his injured leg has weakened him. The new injuries are taking their toll, But a dying mammoth is perhaps more dangerous than a healthy one. Pain and fear make him unpredictable, desperate. He charges again, this time toward Long Walker, who was moving too slowly, who didn't see the attack coming. Long Walker tries to dodge, but slips on the muddy ground, goes down hard on his back, his spear flying from his grip. The mammoth looms over him, trunk raised high, preparing to smash down with crushing force. Your father is running, screaming wordlessly to draw the mammoth's attention, but he's too far away, won't make it in time. Your uncle is on the wrong side, can't get there. Grey Bear is circling but has no clear throw. You're the closest. 10 paces, maybe 12, no time to think, only to act. You're already moving, running toward the mammoth's side. The most dangerous position, within reach of tusk and trunk and trampling feet. You have no spear, you threw your only one. But you have your hand axe, and you're drawing it as you run. Long Walker sees you coming, his eyes wide with fear. Not for himself, but for you. The mammoth's trunk begins its downward swing toward Long Walker's head. You leap, bringing the axe around with all the strength your young body possesses, targeting the trunk, that sensitive, vulnerable, irreplaceable limb. The stone blade bites deep into the trunk's thick muscle, and the mammoth's scream transforms into something beyond rage, beyond pain, into a sound you'll hear in your dreams for the rest of your life. The trunk jerks away reflexively, blood spraying, and the movement throws you sideways. You hit the ground hard, the impact knocking the breath from your lungs. The mammoth is directly above you now, his bulk blocking out the sky, and you realize with perfect clarity that you're going to die. You've made a terrible mistake, saved Long Walker but killed yourself, and your mother will weep, and your sister will grow up without you, and your father's spear takes the mammoth in the neck. It's a perfect throw, his lifetime of skill and strength behind it, and the point finds the great vein that carries blood from the heart to the brain. The mammoth staggers, takes one step, then another. Blood pulses from the neck wound in great gouts. The beast's front legs buckle. His massive head lowers toward the ground, those ancient eyes already glazing. He tries to trumpet one final time, but the sound dies in his throat, replaced by a wet, bubbling gasp, and then he falls. The impact shakes the ground. You feel it through your back where you're still lying stunned in the mud. The mammoth collapses onto his side. His legs give a few final kicks. His trunk twitches once, twice, and then lies still. Silence floods the clearing. No birds, no wind, just the sound of hunters breathing hard, and the fading sound of blood dripping onto earth. Your father is beside you in an instant, pulling you up, his hands checking you for injuries. Are you hurt? Are you bleeding? Talk to me. I'm fine, you manage, though you're shaking so hard you can barely stand. I'm not hurt. Your uncle appears on your other side, and together they support you until your legs remember how to work. Long Walker has risen, muddy and pale but alive, staring at you with an expression you can't quite read. Grey Bear approaches the fallen mammoth cautiously, spear ready in case of some final surge of life, but the beast is truly gone. The elder hunter places his hand on the mammoth's shoulder, bowing his head for a moment in respect or thanks or both. Your father's hands are on your shoulders now, and he's looking into your eyes with an intensity that makes you want to look away, but you don't. You broke formation, he says, his voice tight. You ran toward danger. You could have been killed. I know, you whisper. But Long Walker would have understood, your father interrupts. He's lived 40 winters, he knows the risks. But you, his voice cracks slightly, you're not even fully grown. You're my child. I can't. He stops, pulls you against his chest in a fierce embrace that drives the breath from your lungs more effectively than the fall did. You feel him shaking, realize with shock that he's terrified, that your actions scared him more than the mammoth did. "But you did well," he says finally, pulling back to look at you again. "You foolish, brave, impossible child. You did well." Long Walker approaches, his gait stiff from the fall. He stops in front of you, and to your amazement, he drops to one knee, bringing himself lower than you. A gesture of profound respect from an elder to a youth. "I owe you my life," he says simply. "The clan will know. Everyone will know. You are a hunter now, in truth and deed." The other hunters gather round your uncle, gripping your shoulder, Grey Bear nodding approval, Swift Hand grinning wide. Bent Nose and Stone Thrower emerge from the north, alerted by the sounds of battle, and Stone Thrower lets out a whoop of victory when he sees the fallen mammoth. "A clean kill," Bent Nose announces, examining the wounds. "Well coordinated. The ancestors would approve." His eyes find yours. And this one, the youngest, saved Long Walker and struck with courage. The blood of hunters runs strong. The reality of what you've done begins to settle on you. You've killed mammoth. You've saved a life. You've proven yourself. You're alive, whole, standing in the aftermath of violence with your clan around you. But more than that, you understand now what it cost. You understand why your father looked so grim this morning, why your mother whispered her plea for you to come home. You understand the weight of taking a life, even when necessary. You understand that courage and fear are not opposites but companions. You look at the fallen mammoth, truly seeing him now that the frenzy of battle has passed. He was magnificent. He fought with everything he had. And now he's gone, his life traded for your clan's survival. "Thank you, grandfather," you whisper, using the honorific your father used. "Thank you for your strength. We will waste nothing. We will remember." Your father nods approvingly. "Come," he says to the group. "We have much work ahead. The hard part begins now." And he's right. The kill is only the beginning. Now comes the butchering, the carrying, the transformation of this great beast into food and tools and clothing that will sustain your people. But as you follow your father to the mammoth's body, as you draw your knife to begin the work, you feel different. Changed. The morning's nervous youth is gone, replaced by someone who has looked into the eyes of death and survived. You are a hunter now. The proof lies bleeding on the ground before you. The work begins with your father's knife. He kneels beside the mammoth's head, placing his palm flat against the great skull. Still warm, still holding the last traces of the life that animated it moments ago. His lips move in words too quiet for you to hear. A private conversation with the spirit of the slain. Thanks, an apology, an acknowledgement, all woven together. Then he makes the first cut. Blood wells up, dark and thick, steaming slightly in the cool air. The scent of it fills your nose, copper and iron and something else, something that speaks to the oldest parts of your brain, the parts that remember when blood meant food, meant survival, meant another day of life for you and yours. "Come," your uncle says, gesturing you forward. "A hunter must know every part of this." You move to kneel beside the mammoth's massive body, your knife already in hand. The blade is stone, carefully knapped flint, sharp enough to shave hair from your arm. But even this sharpness struggles against the mammoth's tough hide. You have to saw more than cut, working the blade back and forth, feeling the resistance of skin and fat and connective tissue. Your muscles, already tired from the hunt and the adrenaline crash that followed, begin to burn within minutes. This is the work no one speaks of when they tell hunting stories around the fire. The hours of cutting, peeling, separating. The way your hands cramp and your back aches and your knees go numb from kneeling on cold, wet ground. But you don't complain. No one complains. This is the price of eating. This is the hunter's bargain. Grey Bear works on the hindquarters, his powerful arms driving through the thick muscle, separating the legs at the joints with practiced efficiency. Long Walker and Swift hand tackle the other side, their knives flashing as they peel back hide, exposing the pale fat beneath. Your father and Bent Nose work on the belly, the most delicate operation, opening the body cavity without puncturing the intestines, which would spoil the meat with their contents. The mammoth is a mountain of resources. Every part has value, and your people have learned over countless generations how to use it all. The hide will become shelter, clothing, binding straps, containers. The fat will be rendered for cooking, for waterproofing, for light precious fat that burns clean and bright through the long dark nights. The meat, there is so much meat, will feed the clan for many days, and what cannot be eaten fresh will be dried or smoked, preserved against future hunger. The bones will become tools, scrapers and needles, awls and hammering stones. The sinew will be stripped and dried, then used for binding and sewing, stronger than any plant fiber. The tusks, those magnificent ivory tusks, will be carved into art and tools, traded with other clans, passed down through generations. Even the organs have purpose. The heart and liver will be eaten first, while fresh, their richness providing strength. The stomach will be cleaned and used as a container for water or storage. The intestines, once thoroughly washed, will serve as cord and binding. Nothing is wasted. Nothing can be wasted. The mammoth's death must purchase as much life as possible. You're working on a section of hide, peeling it back from the shoulder, when your knife slips. The blade catches your left palm, just below the thumb, not deep but sharp enough to hurt, to draw blood in a quick line across your skin. You hiss in pain but don't stop working. Your uncle notices. "Let me see," he says, and when you show him the cut, he nods. "Clean wound." "Good." He reaches into a pouch at his belt and pulls out a small piece of plant material. Yarrow, you recognize it? Chewed briefly to soften it, then pressed against your cut. The sting is intense, but brief. He wraps a strip of leather around your palm, tying it tight. "Your first hunting scar," he says. "There will be more." The work continues as the sun climbs higher, then begins its descent toward afternoon. The pile of butchered meat grows steadily, enormous slabs of muscle and fat, carefully separated and prepared. The hide has been rolled and tied, ready for transport. The organs have been wrapped in the stomach lining, protected from dirt and insects. Stone Thrower appears beside you as you're working on a particularly stubborn section of connective tissue. He's covered in blood to his elbows, his face spattered with it, grinning like a wolf. "Did you see it?" he asks, his voice low and excited. "Did you see when you hit the trunk? I've never seen a mammoth scream like that." "I was terrified," you admit, grateful to finally say it out loud. "Good," he says. "Fear means you're not stupid. My first hunt, I was so scared I nearly vomited. But you ran toward danger. That's the difference between fear and cowardice. Fear comes anyway, but you move forward despite it." His words ease something tight in your chest. You'd been worried that your terror during the charge, the way your hand shook after, marked you as weak. But Stone Thrower understands. They all understand. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's fear that's been harnessed, channeled, used. Bent Nose calls for a brief rest, and the hunters gather, drinking from water skins, eating small portions of dried meat. Your hands are shaking with exhaustion, your arms burning, but there's a satisfaction in it, the good pain of meaningful work. "We'll need to cache some of this," your father says, surveying the mountain of resources. We can't carry it all in one trip, and we need to get the fresh meat back to the clan before nightfall. The hunters discuss logistics, deciding what will be carried now and what will be temporarily hidden, protected from scavengers as best as possible until a second group can return tomorrow. It's a delicate calculation. Take too much now and you'll be slowed, vulnerable to predators. Take too little and you risk losing the cached portion to wolves or bears. The hide and the tusks come with us, Grey Bear says firmly. Those are too valuable to leave. Fresh meat for tonight's feast. The rest we wrap well and cover with stones. Agreement ripples through the group. The plan is sound. The butchering resumes, but now with added urgency. The sun is past its peak, and you have perhaps 4 hands of time before darkness begins to fall. The valley is safer in daylight. Once the sun sets, the balance of power shifts. The night belongs to the cats and wolves, to the bears emerging from their dens, to all the creatures that see better in darkness than you do. Your knife moves almost mechanically now, guided by tired muscles and stubborn will. Cut, separate, stack, repeat. The work takes on a meditative quality, your mind drifting while your hands continue their task. You think about the mammoth's eye, the moment before the charge when he looked at you and made his decision. You think about Long Walker's face when the trunk began its downward swing, certain death an instant away. You think about your father's spear, perfectly thrown, the way it seemed to appear from nowhere to save your life. Almost done, your father says, appearing beside you. His hands and arms are covered in blood and fat, his clothing stained beyond any cleaning, but his eyes are bright. You've worked well. Your mother will be proud. The mention of your mother sends a pang through your chest. She'll have been watching the sun's progress, counting the time, every moment you're gone, another moment for worry to grow. Your sister will be anxious too, pretending bravery for your younger brother's sake, but terrified underneath. Will we make it back before dark, you ask? If we leave soon and move steadily, yes. He places a hand on your shoulder, his grip firm and reassuring. And we'll return with meat and honor both. You've earned your place today. The clan will celebrate. The final pieces of work are completed as the sun begins to paint the western sky in shades of amber and rose. The cache is prepared, wrapped bundles of meat and bone, covered with the mammoth's remaining hide, topped with heavy stones to deter scavengers. It won't stop a determined bear, but it should hold until morning. The carrying begins. Each hunter takes what he can manage, strips of meat across shoulders, bundles of fat tied with cordage, sections of hide rolled and bound. You're given a share appropriate to your size and strength, a bundle of choice cuts, perhaps 30 pounds of meat, tied in a way that distributes the weight across your back and shoulders. The load is heavy. Immediately, painfully heavy. Your legs tremble slightly as you stand, adjusting to the burden, and you see Stone Thrower grinning at you. He remembers this too. The first time carrying a real load, the shock of how much weight meat actually has. But the tusks, those magnificent curved pillars of ivory, present a special challenge. They're too valuable to leave, too heavy for one person to carry. Grey Bear and Long Walker fashion a carrier from sturdy branches and cordage, slinging one tusk between them. Your father and your uncle take the other. The arrangement works, but it's cumbersome, slowing the whole group. Bent Nose takes the lead position, his experienced eyes reading the landscape for threats and the safest path. You fall into the middle of the group, surrounded by the other hunters, protected by their presence. This is intentional. You're valuable now, proven but still young, still growing. They position themselves to shield you from danger. The walk back is nothing like the morning's teaching walk. That was exploration, education, the luxury of time. This is determined marching, every hunter loaded with precious resources, all of you vulnerable in a way you weren't when you traveled light. Your shoulders begin to ache within the first stretch of distance. The meat bundle digs into your back no matter how you shift it. Your legs, already exhausted from the hunt and the butchering, burn with each step. But you don't complain. You see the other hunters bearing their loads in silence, and you know this is part of it, the test that continues even after the kill. The sun sinks lower, stretching shadows across the grassland. A wolf howls somewhere to the north, and another answers from the east. They've scented the blood, know something died today. They'll find the cache tonight, almost certainly, but hopefully the stones will hold them off until the clan can return in force tomorrow. Your father begins to sing, a low, rhythmic chant that matches the pace of walking. It's a hunter's song, old beyond memory, words worn smooth by countless repetitions. One by one, the other hunters join in, their voices blending into a sound that's more than music. It's declaration, warning, unity. We are here. We are dangerous. We have killed, and we carry our prize home. You add your voice to theirs, feeling the way the song makes the walking easier, the way the rhythm pulls you forward even when your body wants to stop. This is what it means to be part of something larger than yourself. This is clan. This is survival. This is human. The landscape begins to grow familiar. The distinctive rock formation that looks like a crouching bear. The ancient pine struck by lightning last summer. The stream crossing where the water runs shallow over smooth stones. You're getting close. Another hand of time, perhaps less. The singing stops as you approach the narrow trail that climbs to the cave. This section requires concentration, cannot be taken lightly even without heavy loads. With them, it's treacherous. You move carefully, testing each foothold, using your spear as a support staff. The bundle on your back seems to have doubled in weight, and your legs are shaking with exhaustion, but you focus on one step, then another. Don't think about the distance remaining. Think about the next foothold, the next handhold, the next breath. Stone Thrower is ahead of you on the trail, and you watch how he moves, copying his technique. Behind you, Swift Hand keeps pace, ready to catch you if you stumble. The hunters move as a unit, protecting each other, no one left behind. And then, finally, the trail widens onto the broad ledge before the cave entrance, and you see them. Your mother stands near the cave mouth, your sister clutched to her side. Your brother sits nearby, playing with stones but glancing up constantly to watch for your return. The other clan members are emerging from the cave. The women, the elders, the children, all of them drawn by the singing they heard in the valley below, by the knowledge that the hunters return. Your sister sees you first. There, she shouts, pointing, and suddenly she's running toward you, her small legs pumping, her face split by a smile so wide it must hurt. You want to catch her, to sweep her up, but your hands are full and your arms are dead weight. Instead, you drop to one knee carefully, so the meat bundle doesn't throw you off balance, and let her crash into you, her arms wrapping around your neck, her tears warm against your skin. "You came back," she whispers fiercely. "You came back. I promised, didn't I?" you say, and your voice cracks despite your attempt to sound confident. Your mother approaches more slowly, her eyes traveling over you, cataloguing every visible scratch and bruise, noting the blood on your clothing. Mammoth blood, not yours, but she doesn't know that yet. When she reaches you, she places both hands on your face, turning your head to study you in the dying light. "You're hurt," she says, seeing the leather wrap around your palm. "Just a cut." "It's nothing." "Nothing," she repeats, but her voice shakes. Then she pulls you close, carefully, mindful of your burden, and presses her forehead to yours in the gesture of deepest affection. My brave, foolish child. I've been counting your heartbeats all day. I'm sorry I worried you. Don't be sorry for being alive, she says firmly. Be alive. That's all I ask. The other hunters are being greeted by their own families, but there's work to be done before celebrations can begin. The meat must be properly stored, the hide examined and spread for drying, the tusks secured. The clan moves into organized activity, everyone knowing their role, the ancient dance of distribution and preparation. You're finally allowed to shrug off your burden, and the relief is so intense it's almost painful. Your shoulders scream their protest, your back feels like it's been beaten, but you're standing, whole, alive. Bent nose moves to the center of the gathering, raising one hand for attention. The clan quiets immediately, turning to face him. Today we hunted well, the old tracker announces, his voice carrying clearly. The mammoth grandfather gave his life that we might live. We honor his sacrifice. We waste nothing. We give thanks. He pauses, his eyes finding you in the crowd. And today, a new hunter proved himself, not just in the kill, but in courage. When Long Walker's life hung by a thread, this young one ran toward danger, not away from it. He struck true. He saved a life. He is a hunter now, in deed and in truth. The clan erupts in approval, voices raised in celebration, hands clapping, children whooping with excitement. Your face burns with embarrassment and pride in equal measure. Your father stands beside you, his hand on your shoulder, his grip saying what his voice cannot. I see you. I'm proud of you. You've become what I hoped you would be. Long Walker steps forward, and the crowd quiets again. He's cleaned the mud from his face and clothing, but you can still see the mark where he fell, the grass stains on his shoulder where he hit the ground. I owe this one my life, Long Walker says simply. Without his courage, I would not be standing here. This is a debt that cannot be repaid, only acknowledged. He removes something from around his neck, a necklace of bear claws, each one as long as your finger, taken from a cave bear he killed in his prime. You've seen him wear it every day of your life. He places it around your neck, the weight of it settling against your chest like a benediction. Wear this, he says, and know that you've earned it. The clan's approval washes over you again, and you realize you're crying, not from sadness, but from overwhelming emotion. Pride and exhaustion and relief and belonging all mixed together until you can't separate one from another. Your grandmother's sister, the clan's eldest, approaches with a bowl of water mixed with fat and ochre. She dips her fingers in it and draws a line across your forehead, another across each cheek. The hunter's mark, the symbol that you've killed and returned, that you've contributed to the clan's survival. The cave will know you now, she says, her ancient voice barely above a whisper. Tonight, you'll add your mark beside your father's. Tomorrow, you'll wake a different person than you were this morning. The evening meal is a feast unlike any you've experienced. Fresh mammoth meat, roasted over the fire until the fat drips and sizzles. The liver, divided among the hunters who made the kill you, receive your portion, rich and bloody, the taste of it almost overwhelming. Rendered fat mixed with dried berries, so delicious you nearly groan with pleasure. Everyone eats until they're full, truly full, for the first time in longer than you can remember. Stories are shared around the fire. Your father describes the hunt, giving credit where it's due, making sure everyone understands that the success came from working together. Greybear demonstrates how Long Walker slipped, adding just enough humor to make people laugh without mocking. Your uncle shows how the mammoth turned, faster than expected, keeping the drama alive in his telling. And when it comes time to describe your moment, the charge toward danger, the axe blow to the trunk, your father's voice fills with emotion that he tries to hide but cannot quite manage. Foolish, he says, but brave. The kind of bravery that saves lives and risks everything. The kind that makes me terrified and proud in the same breath. Your younger brother, listening with rapt attention, looks at you with new eyes. No longer just his older sibling, but a hunter, a hero, someone to aspire to become. Later, as the clan begins to settle for the night, your father leads you to the section of cave wall he's chosen. In his hand, the ochre paste your mother prepared. He places your hand in it, coating your palm, and then guides it to the stone. Here, he says, beside mine, where it belongs. You press your hand to the cool limestone, feeling the rough texture against your skin, holding it there while your father traces around it with his finger, fixing the impression in the paste. When you pull away, your handprint remains, red against grey, distinct and permanent, next to your father's hand. Part of the unbroken line that stretches back through time, that will stretch forward through your children and their children, as long as your people endure. Now the cave knows, your father says quietly. Now you're truly part of this. Not just a child who lives here, but a hunter who provides, who protects, who belongs. Your mother appears beside you, your sister still attached to her like a shadow. She studies your handprint for a long moment, then reaches up to touch it gently, her fingers tracing the outline. I see you, she says, using the words of deepest recognition. I see who you're becoming. As the fire burns low and the clan settles into sleep, you find yourself too tired to rest. Your body aches in 1,000 places. Your hands are raw. Your shoulders feel like they've been beaten. But your mind is too active, replaying the day's events in vivid detail. You slip out of the sleeping chamber and make your way to the cave entrance, stepping out onto the ledge where the night air is cold and clean. The stars are brilliant overhead. The same stars that shone on your ancestors, that will shine on your descendants, eternal and unchanging, even as everything else transforms. The valley spreads below you, silver in the starlight. Somewhere out there, the mammoth's body is being reclaimed by scavengers, returning to the cycle. His bones will weather and bleach, will eventually crumble into the soil, will become grass that feeds other animals that your people will hunt. Nothing ends. Everything transforms. You touch the bear claw necklace around your throat, feeling its weight. You look down at your bandaged palm, feeling the sting of the cut beneath the yarrow and leather. You breathe in the night air and taste smoke and meat and home. You are a hunter now. The day has marked you, changed you, made you into something new while somehow making you more fully yourself than you've ever been. Tomorrow there will be more work, returning to the cache, bringing back the remaining meat, the endless tasks of survival. But tonight, this moment, you stand between what you were and what you're becoming, and for just this breath, this heartbeat, you allow yourself to simply be. Alive, whole, home. A hunter standing under the stars, part of an unbroken line stretching backward into mystery and forward into hope. The fire has been built up high for the celebration, flames leaping and dancing, casting the cave walls in flickering gold and shadow. The handprints seem to move in the firelight. Generations of hunters reaching across time, all of them present in this moment, witnessing what you've become. You sit in the place of honor, to your father's right, a position you've never occupied before. Always you've been with the children, or at the edge of the circle, learning by watching. But tonight the space was made for you without question, without ceremony. Simply opened, as if it had always been yours, waiting for you to grow into it. The feast continues, though the frenzied eating has given way to satisfied contentment. Your belly is fuller than it's been in moons, the rich mammoth fat and meat sitting heavy and warm inside you. Around the fire, the clan spreads in its familiar constellation, families clustered together, elders in the honored positions closest to the warmth, children darting in and out of the circle like small fish in a stream. Your sister has attached herself to your side like a burr, her small body pressed against yours, her hand gripping your arm as if afraid you might disappear if she lets go. Your brother sits on your other side, unusually quiet, his eyes tracking between you and your father, trying to understand what has shifted, what this new configuration means. Your mother sits beside your father, and you catch the looks that pass between them. Wordless conversations carried in glances and slight gestures. Relief, pride, fear not yet fully released. She nearly lost you today, and that knowledge sits between them like a living thing. Greybear rises, stretching his powerful frame, drawing the clan's attention without needing to call for it. His presence alone commands respect. He's survived more hunts than anyone can count, killed cave bear and lion, once brought down an aurochs single-handedly when separated from the hunting party. His body bears the scars of those encounters, and each scar is a story. "I've been hunting since before most of you were born," he begins, his voice carrying easily through the cave. "I've seen many young ones join their first real hunt. Some freeze, some run, some do what they're told and no more." He pauses, his eyes finding yours across the fire. "And some rarely. Some do what must be done, even when it means breaking from the plan. Even when it means risking everything." He moves around the fire, coming to stand before you. Your sister tenses beside you, uncertain, but you remain still, meeting his gaze. "Today I watched this young one make a choice," Greybear continues. "He saw Long Walker in danger. He could have stayed safe, stayed in position, followed the plan. No one would have blamed him, but he didn't." Greybear's weathered face creases into something that might be a smile. He ran toward a wounded mammoth with nothing but a hand axe and the courage of someone too young to know better. Foolish, perhaps. Brave, absolutely. The kind of bravery that saves lives. He reaches into the pouch at his belt and withdraws something wrapped in soft hide. Unwrapping it carefully, he reveals a tooth long and curved and yellowed with age, clearly from some great predator. A cave lion, you realize. One of the great cats that hunt the valleys, apex predators that even your people fear. "This is from the lion that gave me this," Greybear says, touching a long scar that runs from his shoulder to his elbow. "The beast nearly killed me, but I killed it first. I've carried this tooth for 20 winters, waiting to know who should have it after me." He presses it into your hand, closing your fingers around it. "Now I know. Wear it with the bear claws. Let them remind you that courage and wisdom must walk together. Today you had courage. Now you must learn wisdom." The weight of the tooth in your palm feels immense, far heavier than its actual substance. This is trust. This is acknowledgement from a hunter whose skill is legendary. You want to say something profound, something worthy of the gift, but your throat is too tight, your words tangled. "Thank you," you manage finally, your voice rough. "I'll try to be worthy of it." "You already are," Greybear says simply, and returns to his place in the circle. Bent nose stirs next, the old tracker's movements slow but deliberate. He doesn't stand. His joints protest too much in the evening, but his voice carries the authority of someone who has lived more winters than anyone in the clan can accurately count. "Stories," he says, and the word alone brings a hush of anticipation. The children lean forward eagerly. Even the adults settle more attentively. Bent Nose's stories are treasured, pieces of wisdom wrapped in narrative, lessons disguised as entertainment. When I was young, Bent Nose begins, his voice taking on the rhythmic quality of a practiced storyteller. Younger even than this new hunter beside me, my father took me on my first hunt. Not for mammoth, we were tracking red deer through the high valleys. The herd was moving fast, and we had been walking for 2 days, sleeping cold under the stars, eating only what we had carried. He pauses, letting the scene settle in everyone's imagination. On the 3rd day, we found them. A good herd, perhaps 30 strong, with several large stags. My father positioned me on a cliff above a narrow pass, told me to wait until the herd ran through, then drop stones on them to turn them toward where the other hunters waited. Simple task for a young one. Stay in position. Drop stones. Don't do anything foolish. You sense where this story is heading, and a small smile tugs at your lips. But when the herd came through, Bent Nose continues, his eyes twinkling in the firelight, I saw the most magnificent stag I had ever seen. Antlers like tree branches, coat like burnished copper. And he was wounded, an old injury that made him limp. I thought, this one is vulnerable. This one I can take myself. The children are wrapped, barely breathing. So I jumped, Bent Nose says, and several people gasp even though they must have heard this story before. Jumped from the cliff onto the stag's back, thinking I would drive my knife into its neck and become a hero. What happened? Your brother whispers, unable to contain himself. Bent Nose touches his nose, the source of his name, clearly broken long ago and healed crooked. The stag threw me off in 2 heartbeats. I landed badly, broke my nose, and the entire herd scattered. The hunt failed. We went home empty-handed. And my father, he pauses for effect. My father made me apologize to every single person in the clan for my foolishness, for my pride, for putting myself above the good of all. But you said, you begin confused, because this story seems to contradict the praise you've been receiving. I said I was foolish, Bent Nose interrupts gently. And I was. Because I acted from pride, not from necessity. I wanted to be a hero, to prove myself, to take glory. That's different from what you did today. You didn't think about being a hero. You saw someone about to die and acted to prevent it. Courage with purpose is heroism. Courage with only pride behind it is just stupid. Laughter ripples through the cave, warm and knowing. You feel the lessons settle into your bones, understanding the distinction he's drawing. The same action can mean different things depending on the intention behind it. So tell me, young hunter, Bent Nose says, his eyes serious despite the laughter, why did you run toward the mammoth? You consider the question carefully, knowing this is important, that your answer matters. I didn't think, you admit. I just saw Long Walker falling, saw the trunk coming down, and my body moved before my mind could stop it. I wasn't trying to be brave. I was just trying to stop someone from dying. Bent Nose nods slowly, satisfied. That's the difference. That's what makes you a hunter rather than a fool. Remember that distinction. It will save your life someday. Your uncle speaks next, his voice carrying a different quality, more practical, less philosophical. Tomorrow we return for the rest of the mammoth. It will be hard work, perhaps harder than today because the anticipation is gone. Today you had excitement, fear, the energy that comes from new things. Tomorrow will be just tired muscles and heavy loads and the long walk home. That's when you'll truly understand what it means to be a hunter. The glamorous moment is one heartbeat. The work that follows is everything else. You nod, knowing he's right, already feeling the truth of it in your aching shoulders and raw hands. The conversation flows around the fire now, multiple voices joining in, hunters sharing moments from the day, women discussing how the hide should be processed, elders offering suggestions for the next hunt. Your grandmother's sister begins singing a soft melody, wordless and ancient, and other voices gradually join in, creating a harmony that seems to resonate with the stone itself. Your sister has fallen asleep against your side, her breathing deep and even, her hand still clutching your arm. You adjust slightly to make her more comfortable, feeling a fierce protectiveness surge through you. She's small, vulnerable, dependent on hunters like you to keep her fed and safe. This is what today was really about. Not glory or honor, but keeping her alive. Keeping your brother alive. Keeping the clan alive through another season, another winter, another turn of the endless cycle. Your mother catches your eye across the fire and gestures, "Come here." You carefully disentangle yourself from your sister, who mumbles but doesn't wake, and make your way around to where your mother sits. She takes your bandaged hand gently, unwrapping the leather to examine the cut beneath. The yarrow has done its work. The bleeding has stopped, the edges of the wound already beginning to close. She applies fresh salve, something that smells of pine resin and herbs you can't identify, then rewraps it with clean leather. "Your first scar," she says quietly, echoing your uncle's words from earlier. "I remember your father's first. He was so proud of it, showed everyone for days until I got tired of hearing about it." "What was it from?" you ask. "A stone blade slipped while he was butchering," she says, and you catch the slight smile in her voice. Nothing glamorous, just carelessness and tired hands. But he wore it like a badge of honor anyway. She finishes tying off the bandage but doesn't release your hand, holding it in both of hers, studying it as if seeing it for the first time. "These hands," she says softly. "I remember when they were tiny, when they couldn't even grasp my finger properly. Now they hold weapons. Now they've taken life." She looks up, meeting your eyes. "I'm not ready for you to be grown. I know that's foolish time moves whether I'm ready or not, but I needed to say it. You'll always be my child, even when you're old and grey and teaching your own children to hunt." "I'll try not to scare you again," you offer, knowing even as you say it that it's a promise you can't keep. "Don't," she says firmly. "Don't promise that. Promise instead that you'll be as careful as you can be while still doing what must be done. Promise that you'll think of me sometimes when you're making dangerous choices, and let that thought make you just a little more cautious. That's all a mother can ask." "I promise," you say, "and this time you mean it, can keep it." She pulls you close, pressing a kiss to your forehead, a gesture from your childhood that she hasn't done in years, that you're suddenly grateful to receive. "My brave one," she whispers. "My hunter. I'm so proud of you I can barely breathe with it." When you return to your place by the fire, Stone Thrower has taken the spot beside where you were sitting, engaged in animated conversation with Swift Hand about tracking techniques. He makes room for you with easy camaraderie, and you realize something has shifted here too. You're no longer the youngest, the learner, the one on the outside. You're part of the circle now, part of the brotherhood of hunters. "Tell them about the throw," Stone Thrower urges. They weren't close enough to see it properly. So you describe it. The way your body moved on instinct, the perfect release, the moment of impact. Swift Hand asks detailed questions about your grip, your stance, your sight line, and you realize he's not just making conversation. He's learning from you, treating your experience as valuable, as something worth studying. This too is new. This too is transformation. Long Walker approaches, moving stiffly from his fall, and settles beside you with a slight grunt. For a long moment, he doesn't speak, just sits in companionable silence, watching the fire dance. Then, "I've been thinking about death today," he says quietly, his voice pitched low enough that only you and those immediately nearby can hear. Not in a sad way, but in a thoughtful one. I've lived 40 winters. That's more than most. I've seen children born and grow and have children of their own. I've hunted every animal in this valley. I've loved well and been loved in return. He pauses, his weathered face thoughtful in the firelight. But I wasn't ready to die today. Even with all that life behind me, I wanted more time. I wanted to see another spring, another salmon run, another winter survived. He turns to look at you directly. You gave me that time. However much remains. Another day, another year, another 20 winters. You gave it to me. That's not a small thing. That's everything. You don't know what to say to this, to the weight of gratitude and significance in his words. The bear claw necklace around your throat feels heavier suddenly, more meaningful. I would have done it for anyone, you say finally. You, my father, stone thrower, any of the clan. I know, Longwalker says. That's what makes it matter. You didn't think about who I was or what I could give you in return. You just saw someone who needed help, and you helped. That's the heart of what we are, what our people are. We survive because we protect each other, even when it costs us, even when it's dangerous. He places a hand on your shoulder, his grip firm. You understood that today in your bones, in a way that can't be taught, only learned through doing. That's rare. That's precious. The fire burns lower as the evening deepens. The younger children have been taken to bed, carried by mothers or led by sleepy feet to the sleeping chambers. The conversation around the fire becomes more intimate, more philosophical. The kind of talk that emerges when bellies are full and safety is assured, and the darkness outside only serves to make the warmth inside more precious. Your father speaks of the mammoth, not the kill, but the animal itself. He was old, your father says thoughtfully. Perhaps older than any of us will ever be. Think of all he'd seen. How many winters, how many migrations, how many calves raised and protected. His tusks were worn from decades of use. His hide bore scars from old fights, old wounds, old stories we'll never know. The circle turns, your grandmother's sister says from her place of honor near the fire. He lived fully. He died feeding others. That's not a bad death. That's the death we all hope for. To be useful even in our ending. To give life even as we lose it. Tomorrow, Grey Bear adds, we'll take the rest of him. We'll carry him home piece by piece. We'll transform him from what he was into what we need him to be. Food, shelter, tools, art. He'll live on in us, in the strength his meat gives our bodies, in the clothing his hide becomes, in the tools carved from his bones. Nothing ends. Everything transforms. The philosophy settles over the group like the smoke from the fire, making everything slightly hazy, slightly dreamlike, connecting you to something larger than yourself. You're part of this ancient cycle, this dance of life and death and transformation that has been repeating since the first people walked the earth. Bent Nose begins another story, this one about the old times, when the world was different, when the great cats were even larger, when the snows came deeper, when his grandfather's grandfather told of mountains of ice that covered the northern lands. You listen with half your attention, the words washing over you, familiar and comforting. Your sister stirs from her sleep, blinking confusedly at the fire, then seeing you and relaxing. Tell me again, she murmurs sleepily. Tell me about the mammoth. So you do, softening the violence for her young ears, emphasizing the teamwork, the coordination, the way everyone worked together. You tell her about the throw, about the moment your spear struck true, and her eyes go wide with wonder, even though she's heard it twice already tonight. Were you scared? She asks. Terrified, you admit. So scared I could barely breathe. But you did it anyway. But I did it anyway, you confirm. She considers this, her young mind working through the implications. Then I can be scared too, she decides, and still do brave things. Exactly, you tell her, and something about this simple exchange feels as important as any of the wisdom the elders have shared tonight. Teaching your sister that fear and courage can coexist, that's passing something forward, that's continuing the line. The fire burns down to glowing embers. The conversation fragments into smaller exchanges, then into silence broken only by the occasional pop of wood, the soft breathing of the gathered clan. Outside, the night wind moves through the valley, carrying the scent of pine and stone and the river far below. Your father stands, signaling that it's time to rest. Tomorrow comes early, and with it more work, more responsibility, more life to be lived. The clan begins to disperse to the sleeping chambers, families gathering their children, elders moving slowly to their places. But before you go, your father places a hand on your shoulder, holding you back while the others file past. Today, you became a hunter, he says quietly, his voice for you alone. But being a hunter is not the same as being a good man. You can be skilled with weapons and still be cruel. You can be brave and still be selfish. The true test comes in the days ahead, in how you treat those weaker than you, how you share what you have, how you use your strength to protect rather than dominate. He pauses, making sure you're really listening, really hearing. Your skill with a spear doesn't make you valuable to this clan. Your willingness to risk yourself for others. That's what makes you valuable. That's what makes you human in the way that matters. Don't forget that as you grow into your strength. I won't, you promise, understanding that this is the most important lesson of the day, more crucial than any hunting technique or tracking skill. Good, your father says, and there's a depth of emotion in his voice that he's not quite managing to hide. Now go to sleep. Tomorrow we work again, and the work is what makes everything else possible. You make your way to the sleeping chamber, the familiar path through the darkened cave requiring no light, your feet knowing every curve and stone. Your sister follows, and your brother, and your mother, the four of you settling into your family sleeping space, the furs spread and ready. As you lie down in the darkness, your body finally beginning to release the tension of the day, you catalogue the sensations, the ache in your shoulders, the sting of the cut on your palm, the weight of the bear claw necklace against your chest, the roughness of the lion tooth in your closed fist, the warmth of your sister pressed close on one side, your brother on the other. This is what you fought for today. This warmth, this safety, this family breathing in the darkness, alive and whole. Tomorrow you'll wake and do it all again. The work, the hunting, the endless cycle of survival. But tonight, you rest in the knowledge that you've proven yourself, that you've earned your place, that you've become what you needed to become. A hunter, a protector, a link in the unbroken chain. Outside, somewhere in the darkness, wolves howl at the moon. The valley sleeps and wakes, lives and dies, turns through its eternal cycle. And you sleep too, finally, deeply, the sleep of exhaustion and accomplishment and transformation. Easily. Tomorrow your body is exhausted, every muscle aches, you rest. Your shoulders throb with a deep, persistent pain, your hands feel swollen and tender, even in the darkness. But your mind races, replaying the day's events in vivid fragments that won't settle into stillness. The mammoth's eye, the moment of the charge, the feeling of your axe biting into the trunk, your father's spear appearing as if conjured by the spirits themselves. Around you, Your family sleeps. Your sister's breath comes soft and even against your shoulder. Your brother has curled into your mother on her other side, seeking warmth and comfort even in sleep. Your father lies beyond them, and though you cannot see him in the darkness, you sense his wakefulness too, the particular quality of silence that means consciousness rather than sleep. After perhaps a hand of time lying still, trying to force rest that won't come, you carefully extract yourself from the sleeping furs. Your sister murmurs a soft protest but doesn't wake. You move with the silence your father taught you, every step deliberate and cautious, making your way toward the cave entrance. The main chamber is not entirely dark. The fire has burned down to embers, but they still cast a faint orange glow that barely illuminates the space. A few shapes huddle near the warmth. The elders who feel the cold more keenly, who sleep closer to the fire's protection. You recognize your grandmother's sister by her distinctive silhouette, and beside her, bent nose, who seems to sleep little these days, as if aware that time itself is a limited resource he cannot afford to waste on unconsciousness. You move past them carefully, not wanting to disturb their rest or their vigil, whichever they're keeping. The cave mouth opens onto the night, and you step through into the world beyond the stone. The cold hits you immediately, sharper than cave cold, carrying the bite of true winter that still lingers despite the seasons turning. You pull your fur wrap tighter, but you don't retreat. Something in you needs this, needs the exposure, the vastness, the perspective that only the open sky can provide. The ledge extends before you, wide and flat, a natural platform that has served your people as gathering place and lookout for countless generations. During the day, children play here under watchful eyes. Women work hides and process meat in the sunlight. Hunters keep watch for game moving through the valley below. But at night, it belongs to the sky. You've never seen stars like this. Or perhaps you have seen them countless times, but never truly looked. Tonight, they demand attention. Brilliant points of light scattered across the darkness, in patterns your people have watched and named and used for navigation since memory began. The great Hunter constellation, visible low on the northern horizon. The river of stars that flows across the center of the sky, so dense in places it looks like smoke from some celestial fire. The wandering stars that move differently from the others, that change position night by night, that your grandmother's sister says are spirits walking their own paths across the world above. The moon hangs past full bright enough to cast shadows, turning the valley below into a landscape of silver and black. The river reflects the moonlight like a ribbon of hammered metal. The grasslands ripple slightly in the wind, making patterns like water. The distant mountains stand dark against the star-filled sky, their peaks still capped with snow that gleams pale in the lunar light. It's beautiful. Achingly, impossibly beautiful. And suddenly you understand something that has been hovering at the edge of your awareness all day. This world, this beautiful, dangerous, magnificent world, existed long before you were born, and will continue long after you're gone. The mammoth you killed today was alive before you drew your first breath. The stars overhead have been burning since before the first people walked this valley. The river has been flowing, carving its path deeper into stone, for time beyond measurement. You are small, temporary, a brief spark of consciousness in the vast darkness. And yet, you matter. Your actions today saved a life. Your spear brought down food that will keep your clan alive. Your courage, however imperfect, made a difference in the immediate, tangible world where your people live and struggle and survive. The tension between these truths, your smallness and your significance, fills your chest with something too large for words. Not quite sadness, not quite joy. Something older than both, something that connects you to every human who has ever stood under these stars and felt the weight of existence pressing down like the sky itself. Can't sleep either. The voice startles you, though it shouldn't. Your father moves like smoke, like shadow. You should have known he'd follow, that he'd sense your absence, that his own wakefulness would draw him here. Too much in my head, you admit, as he comes to stand beside you, his presence solid and reassuring. That happens, he says. After the first kill, sleep becomes difficult for a while. Your body knows it should rest, but your mind keeps showing you the same moments over and over, trying to understand them, trying to process what you've experienced. Does it get easier? Yes and no, your father says thoughtfully. You become more accustomed to it. The shock lessens. But if it ever becomes easy, if taking a life ever feels simple or meaningless, that's when you should worry. That's when you've lost something important. He gestures toward the valley, the sweep of his arm encompassing the entire visible world. I come here sometimes, after hunts, after difficult days, when the weight of providing for everyone feels too heavy to carry. This surprises you. Your father has always seemed unshakable, certain, a pillar of strength that holds up the family and, by extension, the clan. The idea that he feels doubt, that he struggles with the burden of responsibility, is somehow both unsettling and comforting. What do you think about, you ask? When you come here, your father is quiet for a long moment, his eyes on the distant horizon. I think about my father, he says finally. How he stood on this same ledge, looked at these same stars, carried the same weight I carry now. And his father before him. And his father before him, back and back until the line disappears into the mystery of time. He pauses, and you hear the emotion in his voice, even as he tries to control it. I think about how they all face the same challenges, keeping the clan fed, keeping them safe, making the hard choices that leadership requires. And somehow, they did it. Somehow, they survived long enough to have children who eventually had me. And now you. He turns to look at you. That's what I think about. The weight of all those lives that came before, and all the lives that will come after, and how we're just one link in an unbroken chain stretching into the past and future both. You look down at your hands, bandaged, sore. The hands that threw a spear this morning, that wielded an axe, that helped butcher a mammoth. They look different somehow. Older, more capable, more dangerous. I keep seeing his eye, you say quietly. The mammoth's. Right before he charged. He knew what was happening. He knew he was going to die. And he charged anyway, because what else could he do? Yes, your father says simply. That's the weight of it. That's what you'll carry now. The knowledge that the animals we hunt are not objects, not resources without consciousness. They're alive in the same way we are. They want to continue, to survive, to see another day. We take that from them because we must, not because we want to. How do you live with that, you ask? And it's not an accusation. It's a genuine question, a plea for understanding. By honoring it, your father says. By wasting nothing. By being grateful. By teaching your children to respect what we kill. By never taking pleasure in the death itself, only in the life it enables. He places a hand on your shoulder, his grip warm through the fur. And by knowing that someday the valley will take us too. We'll die in a hunt, from sickness, from old age if we're fortunate. And our bodies will return to the earth, become grass, become food for animals, continue the cycle. We're not separate from it. We're part of it. A meteor streaks across the sky, bright and brief, and you both watch it arc and fade. Your grandmother's sister says meteors are the spirits of the dead, briefly returning to visit the world before continuing their journey to whatever lies beyond. You're not sure what you believe about such things, but tonight, watching that brief flame cross the darkness, the idea doesn't seem ridiculous. Do you think they're watching? You ask, gesturing up at the sky, meaning the ancestors, the ones who came before. I don't know, your father admits. I like to think so. I like to imagine that my father saw what you did today, that he's proud of his grandchild. But whether they watch or not, we remember them. We tell their stories. We honor them by living well, by being the kind of people they would be proud to call descendants. He pauses. And that's perhaps more important than whether they actually see us. We carry them forward. We become the ancestors for those who come after. The wind picks up, flowing up from the valley, carrying with it the scent of pine and water and the complex smell of the wild. Somewhere in the darkness below, a wolf howls, not close, but not terribly distant either. Another answers, then another, a chorus of voices claiming territory, communicating across the night. They found the cache, your father observes calmly. They'll eat well tonight too. Will there be anything left for tomorrow? Enough, he says confidently. We made the cache secure. The wolves might get some, but not all. And what they take, well, they need to eat too. The valley provides for all of us, in turn. You think about this. The idea that even the wolves, which sometimes compete with your people for food, are part of the same system, the same cycle. Everything feeding on everything else. All of it connected, all of it necessary. I feel different, you say suddenly, surprised by your own honesty. Like, I'm the same person I was yesterday, but also completely changed. Does that make sense? Perfect sense, your father says. You've crossed a threshold. You can't go back to being the child you were. That person doesn't exist anymore. But the adult you're becoming is still forming, still discovering who they are. He turns to face you directly. That's why this is a dangerous time. You have adult strength and capability, but not yet adult wisdom. You'll make mistakes. You'll act impulsively. You'll hurt people without meaning to. Make choices you'll regret. That's not very reassuring, you say, with a slight smile despite the seriousness. Your father returns the smile. No, but it's honest. And what I can tell you is this. Everyone goes through it. I did. Your uncles did. Stone Thrower is going through it now. It's part of becoming who you're meant to be. The trick is to learn from the mistakes, to listen to the elders, to remember that you don't know everything, even when you feel like you do. He leans against the rock face behind you, his body relaxing slightly. Your grandfather used to tell me, the day you think you've learned everything is the day you become useless. He was right. The hunters I respect most, Bent Nose, Grey Bear, Long Walker, they still ask questions. They still observe. They still treat each hunt as something to learn from, not just repeat. I want to be like them, you say. Like you. Then be yourself, your father says simply. They became who they are by being fully themselves, by developing their own strengths, by accepting their weaknesses and working around them. You have gifts they don't have. I saw your throw today. That was instinct, natural talent. But you also have blind spots you need to recognize. You're impulsive. You act before thinking. That saved Long Walker today, but it could kill you tomorrow. The honesty stings a little, but you recognize it as truth. How do I fix that? You don't fix it. You balance it, your father says. You pair your courage with caution. You listen to the voices that urge care even when everything in you wants to charge forward. You learn to pause, just a heartbeat, just long enough to think before acting. A sound from the cave entrance draws your attention. Bent Nose emerging from the darkness, moving stiffly but steadily, a fur wrapped around his shoulders. He nods to you both and comes to stand at the ledge's edge, looking out over the valley with the patient gaze of someone who has watched countless nights pass. "Couldn't sleep?" Bent Nose asks, though it's not really a question. "Too much to think about," you admit. "Good," the old tracker says. "If you could sleep easily after your first kill, I'd be worried about you." He settles onto a flat rock with a slight grunt, his old bones protesting the cold. "I've been thinking about you today, young one. About what I saw, what it means." You wait, knowing Bent Nose doesn't speak without purpose. "You have the gift," he says finally. "The thing that can't be taught, only recognized. You see what needs doing, and you do it without hesitation, without calculation. That's rare. Most people, even good hunters, they think too much. They weigh the risks, consider the options, and by the time they decide to act, the moment has passed." "But you said," you begin, remembering his earlier story about foolish pride. "I said courage without purpose is stupid," Bent Nose interrupts. "But purpose without courage is useless. You need both, and today you had both." He leans forward, his withered face serious in the moonlight. "But here's what I want to tell you, what I've learned in my many winters. That gift, that instinct for right action, it will save lives, including your own. But it will also put you in danger more often than others. You'll be the one who volunteers for the risky position. You'll be the one who goes back for the fallen hunter. You'll be the one who stands between danger and your people." "That sounds like what a hunter should do," you say, uncertain where he's leading. "It is," Bent Nose agrees. "But it's also exhausting. It's a weight that never lifts. Once people know you're the one who will act, who will risk, who will save, they'll expect it. They'll depend on it. And there will be times when you can't save everyone, when your courage isn't enough, when someone dies despite your best efforts." His eyes are sad, distant, remembering losses you can only imagine. "Those are the days that will test you more than any hunt. Those are the days you'll need to remember why you do this." "Why do I do this?" you ask, genuinely uncertain. Bent Nose gestures toward the cave behind you. "Because they're in there. Your sister who clings to you. Your brother who looks at you with hero's eyes. Your mother who gave you life. Your father who taught you to survive. The clan that is your family, your people, your entire world." He pauses. "You do this because love requires action, because caring for others means putting their survival before your comfort, because that's what makes us human in the way that matters." The weight of his words settles on you like a physical thing, and you understand he's giving you something precious, the wisdom earned through decades of making hard choices, of living with their consequences, of continuing despite loss and pain and the relentless demands of survival. "How do you keep doing it?" you ask quietly. "When it's so hard?" "Because stopping is harder," Bent Nose says simply. "Because I've seen what happens to people who give up, who decide they've sacrificed enough, who turn away from responsibility. They survive, but they don't live. They become hollow, empty, cut off from what makes life meaningful." He stands, moving to place a gnarled hand on your shoulder. "You'll understand what I mean as you get older. The burden becomes familiar. It shapes you, strengthens you, gives your life purpose and direction. Without it, you'd be adrift." Your father nods agreement. The weight you feel tonight, that awareness of responsibility, of connection, of obligation, that's not something to escape. That's what will make you a good man, not just a skilled hunter. The three of you stand in silence, looking out over the valley where your people have lived and hunted and struggled and survived for generations beyond counting. The moon has moved perceptibly lower toward the western horizon. Dawn is still hours away, but time is passing, marking the space between this day and the next. "Tomorrow will be hard work," your father says eventually. "We should try to rest." But none of you move immediately. There's something about this moment. The three of you standing under the stars, 3 generations of hunters, the youngest just beginning, the eldest approaching the end, the middle carrying the weight of both. That feels significant, worth prolonging. "What do you see when you look at the valley?" you ask, not addressing anyone in particular, just putting the question into the space between you. Your father answers first. "I see responsibility. Every animal down there is potential food for my family. Every path is a route home or away. Every shadow might hide danger. It's beautiful, but I can never see it purely. It's always filtered through the lens of survival." Bent Nose speaks next. "I see memory. Every stone and stream has a story attached to it. I've hunted every part of this valley, seen it in every season, watched it change over decades. I see the place where your grandfather killed his first aurochs, the clearing where we found your father when he wandered away as a child, the meadow where the spring flowers bloom brightest." He pauses. "I see time itself, layered like stone, all my winters compressed into the landscape." They both turn to you, waiting. You think carefully, trying to articulate something that's been forming in your mind throughout the day. "I see. Home," you say finally. "Not just the cave, but all of it. The valley is home. The mountains are home. The river and the grass and the animals. They're all part of what home means. And I'm part of it too, woven into it, not separate from it, but included in it." Your father squeezes your shoulder. "That's good," he says quietly. "That's very good." A sound from the cave, someone stirring, the soft cry of a infant, quickly soothed. Life continues inside while you stand outside, but both are necessary. Both are part of the same whole. "Come," Bent Nose says. Your father is right. Tomorrow we work, and work requires rest. The stars will be here tomorrow night, and the night after, and all the nights of your life. You don't have to understand everything tonight. He's right, you know he's right, but you're reluctant to leave this moment, this clarity, this connection to something larger than yourself. You sense that morning will bring mundane concerns, practical problems, the 1,000 small irritations and demands of daily life. This moment standing between earth and sky, between who you were and who you're becoming, is precious precisely because it's temporary. But Bent Nose is already moving toward the cave entrance, and your father is gesturing for you to follow. So you do, taking one last look at the star-filled sky, at the moonlit valley, at the vast, beautiful, dangerous world that is your home. As you pass back through the cave mouth, the transition from outside to inside feels significant, leaving the cosmic perspective for the human scale, trading infinite possibility for immediate reality. The embers still glow in the fire pit, casting just enough light to navigate by. The shapes of sleeping clan members form familiar constellations around the chamber. You make your way back to your family's sleeping area, slipping under the furs carefully so as not to wake your sister. She murmurs and immediately attaches herself to your side again, seeking warmth and reassurance even in sleep. Your brother shifts but doesn't wake. Your mother's breathing remains deep and even. Your father settles into his own place, and you hear him arrange the furs, find his comfortable position, begin the process of courting sleep that will likely take longer than it should. But this time, when you close your eyes, the racing thoughts have quieted. The replaying memories have lost their sharp edges. Something has settled in you during that time on the ledge. Not resolution exactly, but acceptance. You did what you had to do today. You'll do what you have to do tomorrow. And somewhere in the vast space between those necessities, you'll figure out who you're becoming. The stars continue their slow wheel across the sky outside. The valley breathes, animals moving, water flowing, wind carrying scent and sound across the darkness. Your people sleep, trusting that morning will come, that they'll wake, that life will continue. And you sleep too, finally, your body's exhaustion overcoming your mind's racing. Your last conscious thought is of the mammoth's eye, but this time without fear or guilt, just acknowledgement. You met, you struggled, you survived. Tomorrow the work continues, but tonight you rest. The hunter sleeps, the child is gone. And in the space between them, someone new is being born. Sleep comes like a tide, gentle and inevitable, pulling you down into depths where thought dissolves into sensation, where memory becomes dream, where the boundaries between self and world grow soft and permeable. You're aware, distantly, of your body's warmth beneath the furs, your sister's breathing synchronized somehow with your own. The faint smell of smoke and rendered fat, and the particular scent of home that you could recognize anywhere, in any darkness, across any distance. The pain in your shoulders fades to a dull ache, then to nothing. The cut on your palm stops throbbing. Even the bone-deep exhaustion that made every movement an effort begins to lift, not disappearing, but transforming into something else. A heaviness that feels right, earned, the pleasant weight of a body that has been used fully, pushed to its limits, and survived. The dreams begin slowly, emerging from the darkness like shapes materializing in fog. You're standing on the ledge again, but it's different. The valley below is not quite the valley you know. The river runs in a slightly different course. The trees are taller, or perhaps shorter perspective shifts and changes, making measurement impossible. The mountains in the distance seem to move when you're not looking directly at them, rearranging themselves like sleeping giants turning in their rest. Your father stands beside you, but when you turn to look at him, he's younger. Not the father you know, but the father from stories, the young hunter he was before you were born. And then he shifts again, becoming older, his hair fully grey, lines deeper in his face than they are now. Past and future flickering in the same space, all versions of him existing simultaneously. The valley remembers everything, he says, though his lips don't move. The words appear directly in your understanding, bypassing sound entirely. Every footstep, every hunt, every life lived and lost, nothing is forgotten. Nothing is truly gone. You look down at your hands, and they're different. Sometimes young and small, the hands of the child you were. Sometimes weathered and scarred, the hands of someone who has lived many winters. Sometimes covered in ochre, pressing against stone, leaving marks that will outlast your life, your children's lives, stretching forward into a future you'll never see. The mammoth appears in the valley below, but he's translucent, made of moonlight and memory. He looks up at you, and there's no fear in his eye now, no pain, just acknowledgement, just recognition. You see me. I see you. We're both part of this. And then he's not alone. Other shapes materialize around him. Animals your people have hunted, will hunt, have always hunted. Deer and aurochs, horses and bison, wolves and bears. They don't look threatening. They look like what they are, fellow travelers through the same world, playing their parts in the same endless story. Your sister appears beside you, but she's grown taller than you remember, almost your mother's height, with a child of her own clinging to her leg. She smiles at you with warmth and recognition, but also something else. A knowledge that this is dream, that you're being shown something, that this moment exists outside of normal time. Will you teach them? She asks, gesturing to the child. Will you show them how to be brave? I'll try, you say. And the child whose face you can't quite see clearly, who might be a boy or a girl or some future person not yet born, reaches up and takes your hand with perfect trust. The scene shifts like water disturbed by wind. Now you're in the cave, but it's the cave from the deep past. The walls are bare, no handprints yet, no ochre drawings, no marks of human presence. The stone is clean and new, waiting, untold. A figure appears, one of the first people, one of the ancient ancestors who found this cave and made it home. You can't see their face clearly, can't tell if they're man or woman, but you feel their presence, their consciousness, their humanity, separated from you by unimaginable stretches of time, but connected by the unbreakable thread of continuity. They look at you and you understand. You're not separate from me. You're what I become. I'm what you were. We're the same person, stretched across generations, wearing different faces but sharing the same spark, the same desire to survive, to protect, to love, to continue. They press their hand to the stone, and where they touch, ochre blooms like blood, like sunset, like the first fire kindled in darkness. The print remains after they pull away, and you realize it's your hand, your mark, but also theirs, but also everyone's who will come between and after. The figure speaks, and their voice sounds like wind through grass, like water over stone, like the deep, patient voice of time itself. This is the gift we give you. This cave, this valley, this knowledge of how to survive. Use it well. Pass it forward. Remember that you're not the ending, you're the continuation. Then they fade, leaving only the handprint, which multiplies, spreading across the wall like flowers blooming, hundreds of prints, thousands, all the people who have been and will be, all of them reaching across time to touch this same stone, to say, I was here, I mattered, I lived. The dream shifts again, softer now, gentler. You're a child, small enough that the grass seems tall as trees. Your father is teaching you to track, showing you the difference between deer prints and elk prints, patient with your mistakes, encouraging your efforts. The sun is warm on your back. Your mother's voice carries from somewhere nearby, singing while she works. This is memory, but transformed by dream into something more vivid than memory usually allows. You feel the happiness of that moment, the security of being small and protected, of having parents who shield you from danger, who make survival seem effortless, who carry the weight so you don't have to. But even as you experience this, you're aware of what you know now, that your parents carried their own fears, their own doubts, their own exhaustion. They made it look easy because that was their gift to you, their burden to bear so you could grow strong enough to eventually bear your own. Thank you, you try to say, but you're too young in this dream to have the words, so instead you just take your father's hand, and he squeezes it gently, understanding somehow what you meant to express. Now you're hunting, but the prey keeps changing. Sometimes it's a deer bounding through the forest. Sometimes it's a salmon leaping in the river. Sometimes it's something you've never seen before, an animal that doesn't exist in the waking world, beautiful and strange, leading you deeper into wilderness. You're not alone. Other hunters move with you, your father and uncle, grey bear and bent nose, long walker and stone thrower, and others you don't recognize. Hunters from the past or future, or perhaps from other clans, other peoples, all of them part of the same ancient fellowship of those who provide, who risk, who stand between their families and hunger. The hunt flows like water, without the difficulty and danger of real hunting. You move in perfect coordination, each hunter knowing instinctively where the others will be, what they'll do. It's almost like dancing, like music made from movement and shared purpose. And when the prey is caught, gently, without violence, without the terrible struggle of real death, It transforms into meat and hide and bone already prepared, already useful. The animal's gift willingly given, rather than taken by force. This is how it should be, you think in the dream. This is how it would be in a perfect world. But then Bent knows his voice, from somewhere both inside and outside the dream. This is a child's vision. Reality is harder. But remember this feeling, this sense of rightness, of purpose, of working together towards survival. That's real, even when the blood and pain are real too. Hold on to this. The dream softens further, becoming less structured, more like floating in warm water. You see your mother's face, younger than you've ever actually seen it, her expression soft as she looks at something you can't see. Then you realize she's looking at you, at infant you, newborn and helpless and entirely dependent on her care and protection. The love in her expression is so fierce it's almost frightening. The absolute commitment, the willingness to sacrifice anything, to bear any burden, to face any danger for this small creature who has just entered the world. And you understand, with dream clarity, that this is how she still sees you. No matter how big you grow, how skilled you become, how many hunts you survive, to her, you'll always be that helpless infant who needed her completely. And her love, rather than diminishing as you've grown, has only intensified, because now she can imagine all the ways you might be hurt, all the dangers you face, all the losses she might endure. I'll be careful, you tell her, across time and dream. I'll come home. I promise to try. Her expression shifts to the face you know older, lined with experience, but still carrying that same fierce love. She nods, accepting your promise for what it is, not a guarantee, because life offers no guarantees but an intention, a commitment to value your own life as much as she values it. Images flow now without structure, without narrative, a cascade of moments and sensations and meanings too complex for waking thought to hold. Your sister's laugh, bright as sunlight. Your brother's small hand in yours. The taste of salmon in spring. The feeling of cold water on a hot day. The particular way firelight reflects off stone. The sound of the clans singing together. The warmth of furs on a winter night. The ache of tired muscles after good work. The smell of pine resin and wood smoke and the wild. All of it weaving together, creating a tapestry of what it means to be alive, to be human, to be part of something larger than yourself. And through it all, like a thread of gold, the awareness, this is home. These people are your people. This life is your life. Nothing is promised except this moment, and this moment is enough. The dreams slow, settle, become less visual and more felt. You're aware of your body again, but peacefully now. The furs warm around you. Your sister's weight against your side. The rise and fall of breath. Yours, hers, your family's, the clans, all breathing together in the darkness, all alive together. Somewhere very far away, or perhaps very close distance, has no meaning here. You sense the presence of all who came before. Not as ghosts or spirits, but as something deeper than that. As the foundation upon which you stand. As the knowledge in your bones. As the reason you know how to nap stone and track deer and move silently through grass. They're not watching you. They're in you. They're part of what you are. And the people who will come after your children, your grandchildren, descendants stretching into a future you can't imagine, they're present too, in potential, in possibility, in the responsibility you carry to pass forward what was given to you. The chain stretches both directions, and you're just one link, but a necessary one. Your particular strength, your specific courage, your individual choices. They matter because the chain must remain unbroken. Each link supports all the others. This knowledge, rather than feeling heavy, feels like peace, like belonging, like rightness. Deep in the night, in the space between one dream and the next, you surface briefly toward waking. Your father's hand finds your shoulder in the darkness, just a brief touch, checking, reassuring himself that you're there, that you're safe, that you survived. You don't fully wake, but you acknowledge the touch with a slight movement, letting him know you're all right. He withdraws his hand, satisfied, and you hear him settle back into his own rest. This too is love, you think, hovering on the edge of sleep. This too is how we care for each other. Not just the grand gestures, the heroic saves, the dramatic sacrifices, but also the small touches in darkness, the watching over, the silent vigil, the endless, patient, mostly invisible work of keeping each other alive and safe and held. The final dream comes as dawn approaches, though you don't know it yet. You're standing on a high place, maybe the ledge outside the cave, maybe somewhere else entirely, and below you spreads not just your valley, but the entire world. You can see other valleys, other caves, other groups of people living and struggling and surviving. You can see the great ice sheets to the north, still covering vast portions of the world. You can see forests and grasslands, rivers and mountains, the enormous, beautiful, terrible world in its entirety. And you understand, your people are not alone. You're not the only ones fighting to survive, celebrating small victories, mourning losses, passing knowledge to children, hoping for better seasons. All across this world, other humans are doing the same. Some like you. Some different in ways you can't imagine, but all human, all trying, all mattering. The ice is moving, slowly, retreating northward. The world is changing. Nothing stays the same. Your people will have to adapt, to change, to become something new while remaining themselves. Some will succeed, some will not. The future is unwritten, uncertain, vast with possibility and danger both. But you'll face it. Together. As you always have. A voice. Maybe bent noses, maybe your father's, maybe your own, speaks one final time. Sleep now, young hunter. Sleep peacefully. Tomorrow brings its own challenges, its own joys, its own moments of fear and beauty. But tonight, rest. You've earned it. You've proven yourself. You belong to this clan, and this clan belongs to you. Nothing can take that away. The voice fades. The vision fades. The dream dissolves like mist in morning sun. You sink deeper, past dreams, past thought, past anything resembling consciousness, down into the deep rest that knits muscle and bone, that processes experience, that allows the mind to integrate what the day has brought. This is the sleep your body needs. Profound, complete, healing. Around you, the clan sleeps too. 27 people breathing in the darkness, dreaming their own dreams, processing their own days, resting in the safety of stone and fire and community. Outside, the stars wheel slowly toward dawn. The night animals retreat to their dens. The diurnal creatures stir, preparing for first light. The valley breathes alive, eternal, indifferent to human drama, yet intimately woven with human life. The fire in the main chamber burns down to ashes, but new wood has been placed nearby, ready for morning. Someone will wake before dawn. Your uncle, probably, or one of the other adults who rotate the responsibility and rekindle the flames, ensuring continuity, maintaining the warmth that keeps the clan alive through cold nights. Nothing ends. Everything continues. The cycle turns, and you sleep on, peaceful now, whole now, held safely by family and clan and the ancient stone that has sheltered your people for longer than memory can reach. When dawn comes, still distant but approaching, inevitable as the tide, it will find you changed, not dramatically, not obviously, but fundamentally. You went to sleep yesterday as a child playing at being a hunter. You'll wake as a hunter learning to be an adult. The difference is subtle but absolute, irreversible, the transformation complete. But that's tomorrow's discovery. Tonight, you rest. The hunter sleeps. The clan sleeps. The valley sleeps under the stars. And in the deep safety of that sleep, in the peace of exhaustion earned and challenges met and love surrounding you like the warmest furs, you dream of good things, successful hunts, happy children, long summers, your sister's laughter, your father's approval, your mother's embrace. The clan gathered around the fire, singing together, whole and safe and fed. Simple dreams, human dreams. The dreams of someone who has learned what matters and holds it close. The dreams of someone who has found their place and knows, with certainty, deeper than words, that they belong. Peace settles over the cave like snow, gentle, complete, perfect. And in that peace, you rest. Tomorrow will bring its challenges. The return to the cache, the heavy loads, the endless work of survival. But tomorrow is not yet here. Tonight is for rest. Tonight is for healing. Tonight is for dreams. And as the last edge of consciousness fades into the deepest sleep, your final thought is simple and true. I am home. I am whole. I am enough. I am hunter. I am child. I am becoming. I am. Sleep takes you completely. The night holds you safely. And in the darkness, in the warmth, in the love of family and clan, you rest. Deeply, peacefully, finally. Rest well, young hunter. Tomorrow is another day. But tonight, you've earned your peace. Sleep.